been a disaster for the Houston Astros. So I went off on a tangent there. Do you know that Josh Hader, the Astros this year, because yesterday was a blown save for Abreu. Wasn't a blown save for Hader because it was a tie game.
Right.
But Abreu blew that save. Do you know the Astros have blown 8 saves this year?
Yeah.
They had this big three that was supposed to be dominant. I still think they're going to be fine, but they haven't been so far. Through 34 games of the year, they've been poor. They've blown 8 saves. The Astros have blown 8 saves. If you win those games, you're 20-14. Like, where things haven't been great with the injuries. Bregman's been a disaster. The lineups have been a topic of conversation. Chas McCormick has been a disaster. Who's playing center field? Like, all of these questions with the Stros. If they win the 8 games that they blew, we're talking about a 20-14 team. If you win 6 of those games, say you can't, convert all of the saves. We understand that. Let's say you win 6 of the 8. You're looking at an 18-16 record. Let's say you convert 5 of them. You're 500. Like, it's the bullpen to me is the one thing, and there's a lot of things to question. The bullpen, especially the back end, like you referred to, is the one thing you look at, and like, if they were average, you're 500 right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you look at it and you say, it's not just one guy. A lot of times you can say, well, in the past, it's been Montero. It's been this guy. It's been that guy. It's been every guy. Almost every guy that you were supposed to have locked down, shut down innings from 7, 8, 9, and you throw Montero in if he's supposed to be your 6th inning guy. He's been better, but again, yesterday was another hiccup for him as well, that you just look at it and go, we were supposed to be shortening games by watching this move go down. And I'm with you. Look, I was so frustrated that they hadn't done anything. By the time that they did the Hader signing, I was like, wow, it's not something. It's a huge splash. It's a monster deal. It's what you wanted to see from your team was to go out and make a big deal, to go out and say the window isn't closed and we're going for it yet again. But on the deep dive, you're right. You look at it and say, you and I said all off season, try to get at least 2 pitchers and get 1 bat. And if you wanted to go to the bench and take it a step further like you did, fine too. I was just thinking a left-handed bat, someone that maybe had some position versatility, but mainly a left-handed outfield bat, and get 2 relief pitchers because you're losing 3. If you could just add those 2, and it doesn't take a mathematician to say with the $19 million that they spent on just Hader's deal, you could have made all that happen and probably more. You could have strengthened the bench. We know that the owner is all about big splash. But the big splash this time has caused such negative waves that when you look at it now and you look at what could have been, yeah, it's revisionist history. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Hader's going to figure it out. Yeah, his slider looked really good yesterday, but there's no excuse for like the way these games are being, lost. The way that their record in 1-run games is horrible. The fact that they just can't do what you're supposed to be doing, and you can go head to toe from the ownership all the way on down and point fingers and ask questions. I understand it's still early. I understand that I'm optimistic, and I still believe this team's going to win the division, and they're lucky that the rest of their division just hasn't played as well as some of the other teams in baseball. But you look at how many games that they've blown that they've been in close games with, and you say this is a team that has the talent to be an above 500, one of the better teams in baseball. Yet here we are at this point in the season, and they're still 10 games under.
Yeah, it's not great for the Astros. And the bullpen to me is the one thing I would point the most to. Kyle Tucker, 0 for 12 before the home run yesterday, and this isn't really a Kyle Tucker take. This is more of a Joe Espada messing with the lineup, and if the analysts are involved and the analytical people, you got to get your best hitter batting second. The Astros were winning. The Astros had come off a series victory against the Guards. They won 2 games in Mexico City, yes, against a bad team. They had won 4 of 5, and their offense was clicking. Yes, 2 of those games were in Mexico City, where I think you could put a lineup middle 3 of Brian, Branham, and Blank, and we could hit there because it's just such an offensive ballpark. But you were winning games. You had some momentum. The offense was performing pretty well, and then you make the change of Tucker and Bregman, and all of a sudden it messes with Kyle Tucker to where he goes 0 for 12, and yes, good pitching, all of that, but why in the world, and we said it at the time, so this isn't revisionist history, this is not hindsight 2020, why in the time when you're starting to play some better baseball and you're starting to win some games and the offense is actually performing pretty well, why are you making that kind of change? It made no sense then. And then after seeing that, Alex Bregman is still reeling. Yeah, he had a couple of walks. That's outstanding. Great job, Alex Bregman. But at least he's not getting out. And then Kyle Tucker has an 0 for 12 before the homer yesterday. Yes, you're facing good pitching. It makes the point that we had before the alteration in the lineup ring true again. Why are you messing with something that is going well? It made no sense then. It makes less sense now.
No, and at the same time, we talked about even back in the Dusty era, don't rock the whole boat if you're going to have one position be moved or one position be altered in the lineup in this case. But the fact that you did what you did, and we know that in the past, the poster child for where you hit in the lineup was all about Jeremy Pena because he succeeded in the 2 spot. Then when he moved down, he didn't. Then it was, where should he be? Where is he happy? Where does it make sense? Where, I know guys are creatures of habit, but at the same time, Chandler Rome asked over the weekend, asked Joe Espada if he thought about moving Bregman down, and his answer was, I did. Did you think about it, or did you think that you did by moving him just down to 4? Because right now he should be an 8 or 9.
Yeah, that's not a demotion either. Like, I'm sick of that. Like, because you went from 2nd to 4th, this is a demotion. No, it's not. That's an equally important spot in the batting order.
No doubt. Because you and I have talked about all offseason, we talk about the lineups all the time, and whether, who cares more about it. The fact is, all three of us have been on the page of, hey, your top 4 hitters are the most important in that little first niche of the lineup. That's where you've got to have your top 4 hitters. That's where it makes the most sense to get those guys the most at bats. The fact that Alex Bregman, because whether you're worried about him leaving and having his feelings hurt in the offseason, or you believe that, hey, just like that in a snap of the fingers, eventually he's going to snap out of it because he's a slow starter. The bottom line is we've gone too many games now to still have the patience to say he should be in the top 4 spots in this lineup. Figure it out down at the bottom of the lineup. Figure it out because you suck. And figure it out when you have to about the contract and everything else, because I don't think anybody wants to discuss it on his side right now. And if you're the Astros, you shouldn't want to either, because this doesn't look like a tailspin that he's going to snap out of anytime soon. This is disturbing, and it's more disturbing because he's hitting in the top 4 spots.
Yeah. That's 2nd to 4th is not the demotion. You might get less at bats over the course of 162 games, but you're going to have more high leverage at bats over the course of 162 games. It's like it happened on Friday. Well, Alex Bregman, we moved him to the 4th because he was up with runners on the corners and runners at third base with less than 2 outs. What happened on Friday? He bases loaded 1 out. Like, the baseball has a way of finding the struggling player. Baseball has a way of the ball finding them, a bad defender. You're trying to plug some guy in center field. Ball immediately finds him. That's the way it goes. You have a reeling guy in your lineup, there's going to be a pivotal spot. And the cleanup spot for years has been one of the higher leverage spots in the batting order. Hated that move from Espada. It didn't help Kyle Tucker, which is sad because Kyle Tucker was, on a tear.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, hey, here you go, Kyle Tucker. You go bat 2nd now, and there goes the tear. Like, it was a wet blanket is really what it was. Fromber was not good. Bad Fromber, again. Like, at least he gave you some length, I guess. But Fromber was not good. What makes me...
Would you, in revisionist history, would you take the 3?
Not really.
No?
Obviously, it's better than his result, but Fromber's better than that.
Yeah, I just thought that because of the time he missed, maybe, and it's weird that it didn't happen in Mexico City, but he is a ground ball pitcher, so he does keep the ball lower. I didn't expect as much because I just feel like he's got to get back into his groove, and he wasn't great before he took the time off.
No, he had one bad start and one really good start. It was a bad Fromber, good Fromber.
Yeah.
The bipolarness of Fromber Valdez. One was good, one was really, really bad. The Astros got shut out that game. Like, if he gave up 1 run, it wasn't going to be enough. But Fromber was just not good. And then Hunter Brown.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what, I keep holding out hope, but every time he goes back out there, and I watched, his pitch count before he got out in the 2nd inning was above 50. And, the control still isn't even close. I know it's never been great, but it's not close. He doesn't look like he should be a major league starting pitcher. Now I'm starting to question whether he should be a major league pitcher right now at all. And if maybe the best thing for him isn't to be sent down and try and hone in and work on all of his skill as a pitcher, because no matter how much he's got 2 pitches that are really, really good and an above average fastball, if you don't learn how to pitch really soon, you deserve to be left behind by this baseball team while this baseball team tries to figure everything else out, because it's not pretty watching him pitch.
No, it was frustrating too. And there's some, what do I call them, tweeters that were responding to just like, a conversation of the game and stuff. And I agree with them. Like, Hunter Brown has a ton of non-competitive pitches because he's maddening watching pitch because he'll get into a spot like the first inning was pretty unlucky. Like you have a couple of like weak contact. All of a sudden the bases are you have runners at first and second, nobody out, and then Hunter Brown strikes out the side. You're like, he is capable. That's what makes it so frustrating. It's kind of like Jalen Green, if I make a completely cross-sport reference, because you know that Jalen Green has the potential. He shows it from time to time where he's like, oh, a 40-point game from Jalen Green. Oh, Jalen Green has a stretch of 4 games where he's averaging 30, and he's shooting 40% from 3. Hunter Brown has stretches, not as many this year, where at first inning, he mows through the middle of their lineup with 3 strikeouts in a row, strikes out the side, but he gave up runners at first and second, nobody out, put himself in a jam. Almost didn't make it out of the second inning altogether. He's walking the 9-hole hitter. So that's what makes it more frustrating with a guy like Hunter Brown as opposed to like a JP France who like doesn't have the ceiling. He doesn't show like that capability. So you would kind of temper our expectations with a JP France. You don't do it with a Hunter Brown because you see what he's capable of, and it makes you mad that he can't fulfill it. But I think his biggest problem, yes, it's part command. He throws so many non-competitive pitches. How many times is he ahead of the count 0-2, 1-2, and then before you even realize it's 3-2 and the hitter didn't even have to work? You have 2 pitches in the dirt where the hitter doesn't even take the bat off his shoulder, 3-2 count, now you're in a pickle.
I went back and watched it about a couple hours ago, and just going back and watching how many counts went to 3-2 and how many he was ahead in and how many times he just couldn't. I mean, it's one thing to say location, and a lot of people, when you say location, to them it says, well, you got to locate it in the zone. No, you don't. But you have to make pitches that are close enough to the zone that a hitter who goes into protect mode, knowing he's already got 2 strikes, has to at least think about, and if it's close to the zone, they're going to swing more times than not because they know they don't want to get rung up and caught looking. And the fact is, he can't do that. He can't come close to the black of the plate and get close to the high and the low levels of the zone to get hitters to want to chase when they're in defense mode. Instead, he does them a favor, gets them back in positive counts for the offense, and then in a lot of cases, he does them an even bigger solid and just walks them so that he can move on to the next guy and do the same thing all over again.
Yeah, it's maddening. It's maddening watching him pitch. I like to call it get a call, get a chase. Like, that's what you're doing 0-2, maybe even closer on 1-2, you know? Like, get a call, get a chase. Like, 0-2 is a little different than 1-2. Like, 0-2, you don't want to give up any damage, but at the same time, you don't want to waste a pitch. What's the point of that? What's the point of just wasting a fastball 3 feet outside? The hitter, like, you get nothing out of that. If you want to change the eye level of a hitter, throw fastball high, miss by 6 inches. You're missing by a foot, 2 feet. You're throwing balls in the dirt that the hitter isn't going to even, like, remotely think about swinging. You're accomplishing nothing there. He's non-competitive with 0-2. Get a call, get a chase 1-2. He's not competitive there. That's where he's got to get better, but I think it is command. And it's maddening watching him pitch. All right, good, bad, ugly from the Astros weekend. 713-780-ESPN, HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. We'll eventually get to the good, but I have a feeling we're going to get some bad and ugly. I have a feeling that's the way the show is going to go today. 713-780-ESPN, busy show. We have a Mailbag Monday. Ask us whatever you want. Alex Bregman continues to kill the Stros. And is there any fire to this J.J. Watt smoke? We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/ESPN 97.5. I don't know which one of those cameras is looking at me. We're on Twitter at Pac-Man Joel. He is. Brian's at Sacked by BMAC. I'm at Jeremy Branham. It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5. Do you want the best barbecue grills at the best price? Yeah, of course you do. Well, then join the club at Texas Star Grill Shop right now. You can do it at 975grills.com or just mention the club at any Texas Star Grill Shop. They're brick and mortar. If you haven't joined the club, you're missing on the deal they have going for the Weber Slate rust-resistant griddle. This is how a pro does it, by the way. Don't be that guy serving up these dry, rock-hard burgers that don't taste good. Restaurants cook burgers on flat tops, so why wouldn't you? 975grills.com. Get a steal of a deal on the Weber Slate rust-resistant griddle going on right now. Plus, club members will get free delivery and assembly when you sign up at 975grills.com. It doesn't cost anything to sign up, so why wouldn't you? You can learn about these amazing deals and all of these specials, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You're just getting information for free, and maybe you get a grill at a very low cost, which includes the Weber Slate rust-resistant griddle right now. It's $100 off right now at 975grills.com. Of course, Texas Star Grill Shop is where you want to get your grill. They'll be there every step of the way. If you're going to buy a grill in this town, you need to talk to them first. Weber, Traeger, Napoleon, wood pellet, charcoal, gas, flat tops, pizza ovens. They have it all. Free delivery and assembly. Also, if you're in the market for an outdoor kitchen, you should be. they're who you need to talk to, and the club is the place to get all of the best offers. 975grills.com, 975grills.com for the best barbecue grills at the best price.
You're listening to the Killer Bees with Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios.
Good, bad, ugly. 713-780-3776. We haven't made it to the good yet, which there is a little bit, actually. Yeah. XX Ron, Hunter Brown is a major issue. That's his bad. He can't finish hitters off. So many batters down 0-2 or 1-2, and he walks or hangs a meatball. He's right. XX told me that on TikTok at Jeremy J. Branham. I remember reading that. He's right. We talked about it a little bit in that first segment. He makes a lot of non-competitive pitches. What other bad and uglies do you have before we get to some of these texts? You have any, Brian? Some bad, some uglies?
We covered the back of the bullpen, so that was two of them. We covered
Fromber, Hunter.
Bregman.
Yeah, Bregman's been a disaster. We kind of got into him.
Another double play ball.
Another double play ball.
I mean, most of my bads.
His pop-up rate's only 3% higher than it was last year.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil all that, but another double play ball. When you're counting how many double plays he hits into instead of how many hits he gets in a game, it's pretty pathetic.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Brian?
No, most of my bads are what you guys have covered. I mean, Hunter and Fromber weren't good enough. The back end of the bullpen had a bad couple days. The only other one I would mention is Yonder was fine obviously on Friday, but 0 for 7 over Saturday and in Sunday. So especially in a day where you get shut out 5-0, you needed more from one of your best top 4 offensive players.
You saw where he was hitting yesterday in the lineup, huh? Behind John Singleton. Yonder was hitting 7th behind John Singleton yesterday.
Don't love that.
Now, why not?
Well, I mean, I guess it would be something that fulfilled itself. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but because he went 0 for 7, so he doesn't deserve to hit higher. But
Yonder with runners on is a different baseball player.
Oh, so this is a lineup construction thing to you?
I think so. He's already done it. He's done it twice. Remember, he was batting 5th, and then he flip-flopped him and Pena, and now he's doing it again with Singleton. Now, I want to see more than one game because Miller had, career-wise, has big splits where he wasn't nearly as good against lefties as righties over the course of his career. This year's been a little backwards, actually, which is another question about Espada. Where are you putting the value? So I want to see if this was a handedness thing more, or if it was a lineup construction thing. I guess I would need to see it against either like an even split guy or a lefty, which I don't think that Singleton would bat ahead of Yiner against the lefty, although Yiner has reverse splits, so maybe. I don't know. So I want to see what it looks like in the next few games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the fear is or the thought is you have to put Yiner in a place where he's not going to be asked to drive in runs. Like, where can you put him? I mean, there's no spot. I mean, I guess ninth or something, or behind a guy that doesn't get on. But it feels like, that feels like a no-win situation.
I agree. Now, remember last year, though, in Game 5 of the ALCS, when Dusty Baker got thrown out, and if Joe Espada was making the moves, this is at least what he said after the game. He said that, remember he pinch hit back-to-back hitters to lead off the inning, and he went with Yiner, and then went with Singleton. Yeah. And the reasoning that he went with Yiner was because he feels like Yiner is better with nobody on base, and that when there are people on base, he gets a little zealous, overzealous, I should say. He gets a little eager, and he becomes a different hitter. That's 100% truth. That's a fact. Like, the numbers also support that.
I think when you look at some of his home run totals this year, 2 of them at least came in during blowouts. Either they were getting blown out or they were up big when he hit the bombs, when it was like mop-up time. Yeah,
they said it used to say Bagwell would do that all the time too. I think that Yiner's a better hitter than, kind of the narrative on him right now. But I do believe in the notion that he is a different hitter with runners on base. Altuve's a different hitter with runners on base
this year for sure.
Like they both have the same gene where they have they don't see a lot of pitches. They're both high contact guys, so they have this confidence that they can hit anything, and they usually can, especially Altuve's case. And they become a little over aggressive, overzealous with runners on base. It's their tendencies. It's who they are as baseball players. The only other bad that I had was I'm not a fan of Loperfido in center field. I don't think that he's I'm putting way too much weight on 2 games in that diving play.
I was gonna say the dive stuck in
it
your
mind. It had a 90% catch probability.
Yeah, and he just,
by the way,
it's like he not only dove, but he dove and then checked up early, like all of a sudden with the oblique move, like I'm not gonna get this, and then tried to slap at it, and that should have never got by him.
Too small of a sample to be making final decisions and conclusions on him there, but early indications. I'm not sure that he's a center fielder. As a backup, whatever. But an everyday center field guy, I don't see it yet. Let's watch more games, see how he plays out there. But it is clear that they don't like him at first base. He still hasn't played a game at first base. He started a game in center field before he started a game at first base. Now, he moved to center field in that extra inning game before he moved to first base.
Right.
They believe in him more in center, which I have questions about, more than his comfort level at first base right now.
Now, do you think that if Singleton wasn't heating up, that maybe he'd already have played first base?
I don't know.
See, I think if Singleton hadn't shown what he's shown over the rest of the homestand once they moved Abreu down, I think we might have seen Joey Loperfido at first base a couple of times. I feel like, unlike what they've done with the batting order and what you mentioned about with Kyle Tucker, once Singleton got going, they felt like they weren't going to touch him. They were going to leave him in for the foreseeable future and ride the wave. And so far, so good in the fact that they've been getting good results from him. Maybe that's the reason why we haven't seen Joey Loperfido at first base.
Yeah, the Chaz wrinkle throws a wrench into this because it opens up some left field starts too. So that maybe if Chaz was healthy and Singleton was struggling, I could see that. Any more bads before we get to some of these textures?
Can I just say on the bad from a hater perspective, the one thing that it just drove me nuts last night was the fact that you threw 2 sliders that were nasty, that had unbelievable results, and then you threw a middle-in fastball right down Main Street that got hammered into the Crawford boxes. I will never understand, when we talk about competitive pitches, how you didn't even throw another slider, or at least you threw something that he might chase. And I know that you missed your location on it, but I still wouldn't have been throwing fastball that close to the plate anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a command. I can promise you that on an 0-2 count, he wasn't trying to throw a fastball middle.
Right.
That was not the desire.
But my point being, spike one. Throw it.
You just said that Hunter Brown should be competitive on 0-2, 1-2 counts.
But there's a difference between those 2 guys, obviously. And I think that when you've already gotten ahead in a count 0-2, you could spike one, but his spiking one, if he throws another slider, but just throws it 6 inches so that it dives even more, that's a competitive pitch because it's coming out of his hand looking like it's going to find somewhere near the zone. He's protecting the plate at 0-2. He's going to swing and miss, or swing at it, whether he swings and misses or not. He's not going to put a solid barrel to bat more than likely. Instead, you find yourself on the short end of the stick, gives up a bomb, and it's over.
Sounds a little contradictory.
Why?
Because we just talked about the Hunter Brown side of it, and it's the complete opposite when it comes to Hader.
But if Hunter Brown could throw, I think Hader has better command than Hunter Brown. If Hunter Brown's 0-2 there's a.
I don't know. Hader's been like one of the highest walk guys in baseball.
Okay, when you look at it too, we're talking about from the first 2 innings of a baseball game, or you're talking about a tie game in the 9th inning, where your closer, who everybody knows, when he comes into a ball game, what you're expect. Instead, he throws 2 sliders that get really weak flails and swings and misses, to where you go, okay, I don't have to throw a perfect pitch here, but at least 0-2. I can throw 1 pitch where I can try and get a swing and miss and a chase, and then I can get back to business. Hunter Brown's a different story because I don't think he has control over any of his pitches.
Yeah, I mean, Hader's a high walk guy too, though. Like you're kind of overrating Hader's command here. I don't hate fastball there. Obviously, I hate it in the zone. Like I want that fastball 6 inches above the zone, and then you set him up for the strike 3 slider, the back foot slider. I didn't hate the pitch selection. Obviously, I hated the pitch location. The pitch location was trash, and that's why I got hit for a deep home run that took the lead. 713-780-ESPN. 0423, can we blame the batter's eye for our lack of hitting? Can they change it for Bregman's at-bats? Put a green screen up. Bregman's issue is not the backdrop. Bregman's issue is the swing. The swing's been poor. 6941, Espada's afraid to move Bregman where he belongs. I guarantee if you brought in a new manager, he wouldn't be a coward. Okay, that's interesting. Because Dusty was a guy who would give a lot of leeway to his veterans, too. So, this is kind of talking out of both sides of the mouth a little bit. I think this is a contradiction, quite frankly, because I think Dusty would do the same thing. I don't think that Dusty would have Bregman outside of one of the top 4 spots in his lineup in the first 34 games.
No, Dusty was hyper protect veteran. Look what he did with Abreu all the time, too. I don't think there's any doubt at this point in the season that Dusty would be doing the exact same thing, maybe even more so, but I'm not sure that he would even have moved him yet. But I know that Dusty would have been the same kind of protective of a guy like Alex Bregman.
Yeah, I believe too. 5046, bring back Dusty Baker now. Wide eye emoji. We're getting there?
How can you look at these games and say Joe Espada is the culprit instead of what we've just got done talking about guys that are failing? If Joe Espada or Dusty Baker have those guys in the back of their bullpen, both managers are going to go to them pretty much the same way at the same times, I believe. Sure, you can say at certain points, I don't know if Dusty would have used Hader in non-safe situations like Joe Espada did, but for the most part, it's the players that have not been performing to the level before I'm going to start pointing fingers at Espada.
Yeah. Dusty Baker would have a better record on this team. I don't disagree.
By how many games?
3, maybe 2 or 3. I don't think it'd be much different. Maybe two. I'll go with 2. I don't really disagree with what you're saying, but I do think that Dusty Baker would have an extra win or 2 than Espada. Dusty's more experienced manager.
Sure, and
I don't think he would tinker with the lineup as much. I don't think that Dusty would have even thought about the little lineup change that they did over Seattle.
Right.
When you're rolling, you're playing well, and then you have a lineup change between your 2 and 4 guys, Dusty ain't doing that.
No, that's what I said. And I think that when you say that there's growing pains with the manager in his first go-around, I'll go with 1 or 2 games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
Nothing crazy.
But I think when you're talking about runners in scoring, left on base with runners in scoring position, when you talk about the back of the bullpen, when you talk about the inefficiency because of injuries and otherwise of your starting pitchers, and then you get to Hunter Brown and J.P. Prance before him, and you look at those things, I don't think it's fair to say Joe Espada should be fired and Dusty Baker should be the manager right now. I think there's way too many issues on the field with the roster before you start pointing fingers at the manager.
I agree with that 100%. I think both things can be true here. Yeah, absolutely, Espada doesn't deserve to be fired. Yes, absolutely, it's player first. But it's also fair to say that you would have 2 more wins with Dusty. Houston Zach says the Brady roast. That was hilarious. I haven't finished it. I fell asleep about halfway through. Did you watch any of it?
I saw some of it.
The lady, what was the lady's name? I forget the lady. She was one of the first ones. She killed it.
Yeah, everybody loves her. They said they're following her now.
Nikki Glazer?
Yeah.
She's so funny. What's her story?
Glazer, yep. Nikki Glazer.
Say it again?
What's her story? Is she a stand-up comedian? Or?
Oh, yeah. She's a long. I've seen her on comedy shows for the last decade plus.
I
She's
had
really
never
funny.
heard of her. I'd seen the name, but I didn't know that's who it was. She was hilarious. Her delivery
was
was
for talk shows, and I think she did Saturday Night Live, but she got a whole lot of run out of what she did last night.
Yeah, she's hilarious. Let's see where she got her start. She said they did. She appeared on Dancing with the Stars, but I think she appeared as a.
But she was already an established comedian at that point.
She appeared as somebody that was doing some sort of, I guess, TV stuff.
I remember her as far back
as
maybe 2015, seeing her stuff on Comedy Central. So she's been in the game for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was funny. Yeah, people are criticizing me. They're Nikki Glazer shaming me for not knowing who Nikki Glazer was. I had seen the name, but I didn't know that's who that was. So no, I guess I didn't know who Nikki Glazer was. 713-780. He said the bad, the Astros bullpen, the ugly, the flooding in Houston. Yeah, no doubt. I hope
True.
everybody's safe out there. That was hairy there for a little bit. All right, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We do have some good to get to. Do you? 713-780 ESPN HRP listener line. It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5. ESPN 92.5.
Live in the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Killer Bees. Now back to Joel and...
Oh, do you know what the title of the song is?
No, I don't.
Who is it?
The song's called Today by the Smashing Pumpkins, but the line is Today is the greatest day I've ever known. So it's a little bit sarcastic.
There you go. So it was by design. There was a method to the madness.
Yeah, there definitely was.
Method to the Macness. Grade the joke. 713-780.
You say Macness?
I did the second time, yeah. Because you're BMAC. That's
No,
why.
no, I get it. Thank you.
713-780 ESPN. Wheatstraw says that Gronk bit
2.1
about the crypto was epic. That was maybe the funniest line of the entire thing, because they were talking about they didn't do it at the Crypto.com arena because Brady lost $30 million in crypto.
Well, that's
and
right,
then she
yeah.
goes, even Gronk was like, no, that's not real money. It was, and Gronk's like, what did I do? That was a funny line. Haha. Good talk. All right.
Tommy seemed a little looped up at times.
He had some drinks.
Yeah.
He had no point. He had no problem telling Jeff Ross what he could and couldn't say.
So I think that's a myth.
You think?
I would agree with Jeremy.
Like,
Alright,
if you
alright.
watch the video, he's like laughing. You see him get fidgety in his chair, kind of wait for the cue, and then I think because you can see Brady off camera laughing. You see him get fidgety, and then Ross looks at Kraft and he points at him, and then all of a sudden Brady's in his ear. I think the cue was the point. I stole the signs of Jeff Ross.
I didn't notice that, but I did notice prior to him he double took an opportunity to get up. Mm-hmm. He looked like he was starting to get up, and then he stopped, and then he waited, and then he went again. It was like a base runner. It looked like he was going to go, and he stopped, and then he went.
And think about it. Like, of all the jokes that were said yesterday, that's the one that got him out of his chair. That's the one. They're sitting there talking about the jiu-jitsu instructor of Giselle. They're talking about Aaron Hernandez. They're calling Tom Brady gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And that's the one that got Tom Brady out of his chair?
Yeah.
I'm not falling for that. Good try. It was funny, but I was born at night. It wasn't last night. I'm not falling for that.
Yeah, I thought it was staged too, and I thought Bledsoe was pretty good. I give Bledsoe credit for the one.
Those were his jokes.
No, of course
but
not.
They were funny.
Sure.
He delivered it well. I thought he did a good job. All right, do you have any good at all from the Astros weekend?
Well, I think there's some obvious ones, and then I think it starts with the guy that's playing first base, and on the entire homestand. As much as I'm ready to start admitting that I was wrong, because I was ready. I was done. I was done with John Singleton. I was to the point where I thought John Singleton shouldn't be on a major league roster. Big home runs at very time. Not the Yiner Diaz criticism of only getting, extra the home runs and the big hits in fluff time. He came up with 3 really primetime bombs when they needed him over this homestand. John Singleton has to be on the good list.
Yesterday should have been his moment. Like yesterday should have been John Singleton's moment. The go-ahead homer, the big 3 should have knocked it down. We're talking about how great John Singleton is today. We're saying, well, the Astros just took 2 of 3 from Seattle. They took 2 of 3 from Cleveland. They were 4-2 in a 6-game homestand against playoff contenders. They're 6-2 in their last 8. That should have been the conversation today, which also shows you how razor thin winning and losing is. It shows you how razor thin good blah 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 blah. If you can get it to the bottom of the 9th, maybe you win it. Like, that's how razor thin winning and losing is, and good vibes and bad vibes are. Singleton he started 6 games in a row. Didn't play in Mexico City, but has started the 6 games since the Abreu move. He's hitting 300 with a 348 on base, 750 slugging, a 1,098. He's over a 1,000 OPS. Don't think it's sustainable, but what might be sustainable, his regular season numbers this year, combining with everything, obviously, 2024 numbers, 258 average, 329 on base, 436 slugging, 764 OPS. Short. I would take the 750 OPS at first base with what you've had all year.
No, you have to. And I think because the rest of your lineup is not too shabby, so that you can, if it's not 2 or a little bit of bounce, going to find it. Tucker was hot, like you mentioned, until the homestand. You have too much offensive firepower in this lineup top to bottom to worry and nitpick it too much. If he gives you that and he can do that consistently, then you're in a way better spot than you were with Abreu anywhere close to this team.
713-780-ESPN. Some of the good Jeremy Pena's defense, fun to watch.
Man.
He's a great defender. Twitch likes to give me a little bit of grief for that. Jeremy Pena is fantastic defensively. I actually think the team has some fight. Like, you're trailing in that game yesterday. You're trailing, what was it, 3-0? Or was it? Yeah, it was 3-0, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker hits the 2-run homer, makes the 1-run game,
6th.
and then Singleton hits the 2-run homer to take the lead. Like, the team has some fight. That was somewhat encouraging, even though you lose. And then my final good, they somehow got someone to give them money for Joel Kuhnel, or however you pronounce his last name. I'm glad he's gone, so I don't have to pronounce his last name anymore. How did that guy return anything for, like, guys who are fringe players?
But you're right. I'm glad that the softball pitcher's gone.
It's insane. How did somebody give money for that guy?
Yeah, I don't know how you just don't wait for him to be released if you really wanted to give him a shot at all. It's ridiculous. But okay, good job, Astros, on that. Now let's see if you can work some more magic and do some other things to maybe strengthen up the bench of this team, or do some other things that might help this team, because they still need help.
The 40-man so they could add Loperfido. So, like,
somebody had to want him.
was on waivers. So, like, Toronto made the decision that we don't want him to be on waivers in fear of somebody else grabbing him. So let's send you some cash considerations for Joel Kuhnel. I think it was, my guess is like $10,000, but still, anything to help pay that Abreu contract, right?
This is the complete opposite of when the Cubs cut Cooper, the first baseman.
Garrett Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, that made sense, because a lot of teams looked at him saying, hey, he got off to a pretty good start. There's some interest to give that guy a shot to see if he can keep it going with our organization. Then you understand a trade. But Joel Kuhnel, Come on.
Yeah, he was desired on the open market. 3306, Joel Kuhnel had more trade value than Jose Abreu, which is true. 3306, Barkley said it perfect about coaches. It's not a Spada's fault. But what did he say about managers? I don't know that. 6030, Joe Silas is soft as puppy, bad word in the rain. It's his job to get the players to respond. He is a yes man, and also hitting coach, pitching coach got to go. 6030 wants to shake up in the dugout. 0179, there's absolutely no leadership on this team. We missed the fire of a guy like Correa, all those mound visits. This team needs that now. You're right. The Astros are never, I've said it once and I've said it a million times. The Astros will never recover from letting Carlos Correa go in free agency. They're never going to win anything since Carlos Correa was gone and his leadership no longer in the clubhouse.
You obviously haven't seen the stats on when you have fire in the clubhouse, how much more effective you are with runners in scoring position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Someone else texted that to you about batting average stuff. Yeah, Astros won a World Series after Correa left. 713-780-ESPN. HRP listener line 713-780-3776. You can still send us your Astro thoughts. Also, though, when we come back, a new Wheel of Bits. You never know what you're going to get. Today it's new, so you have no idea what you're going to get. What is the next great radio gold that Wheel of Bits brings you? It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
Next. Could it be the next great big food debate? The biggest Joel rant of all time? Jeremy trolling someone to the point of crying? Or just some actual bees making some honey? Well, let's find out. It's time for the Wheel of Bits.
Oh my goodness, would you look at this? What an enormous spin.
Let's play You're a Casual.
You're a casual. Let it be known I would never troll somebody to the point of crying. You're a casual. So you see something, you hear something, and you're like, that guy doesn't know ball. That guy does not understand the game. He doesn't understand the sport. All of you can play along. Just tweet him at Pac-Man Joel. He'll collect them and put them all together. You see something that, I don't know, should we say the name? Should we protect the identity of the casual?
Depends on how much you want to fight.
I'm never afraid of confrontation.
You think, wait, actually, okay, I can't say it because You could have had a Fight Club moment.
No, I don't think it would be the person in question.
Yeah.
I think he's above it.
You know what would be fun, though? If we protect the identity of the casual, and then our listeners, 713-780-3776, Twitchers, twitch.tv/ESPN975, YouTubers at ESPN Houston on YouTube, they guess who the casual is.
Not bad.
And if we have a giveaway that day, ding, 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 you guess the casual, you get the gift card. You get the T-shirt. You get a high five, whatever the case may be. Today, you're getting a high five. You're getting a virtual high five if you guess the casual right. So this casual happened to be on Twitter. This was May 3rd, so that would have been Friday. Jose Altuve, you remember we laid down the drag bunt, scored the runner, infield single on the bunt base hit. We got a tweet after that. We didn't get to it, but I swear I put this on the show doc today. The Astros should forget everything about how they've won baseball games, ... It's about putting together rallies now. Dare I say smaller ball, if not small ball. Shout out to Altuve's squeeze. Remember, there's 2 outs, runner at third.
Yeah.
He says, shout out to Altuve's squeeze. You're a casual. Guess the casual. 713-780-3776, twitch.tv/ESPN975, ESPN Houston on YouTube. To make it worse, to make it more of a casual, a fella took him to task in the comments. I agree, casual. But that was not a squeeze. That was Altuve bunting for a hit and Myers reading it. Myers was probably told to go.
Right.
Although I bet Altuve did that on his own.
I think he absolutely
did. He did it on his own. So maybe it did require some Jake Myers reading. But he did, he's not being told to bunt by Espada. And then the response from the casual was safety squeeze. Safety squeeze with 2 outs? A suicide squeeze makes more sense than a safety squeeze. Now, hold on. Both of them make absolutely no sense. But what's the goal in a safety squeeze? You're giving up the out to allow the runner from third to
there's
score.
2 outs.
The safety squeeze is a worse response than the Altuve squeeze.
Did you
Casual
see Jake's facial expressions when he crossed the plate? It was like an exhale, and he started giggling, laughing, whoever was on deck. Like, whew, glad I read that one. Like,
really?
Yeah, there's no doubt that no one knew that was coming but Altuve, and he had to pick up on it. But
and
thankfully,
Altuve's been doing that a lot recently.
A guy who's very slow on reactions and falls flat on his face trying to steal bases, at least read the play and got home safely. That's phenomenal. Yeah. That tweet is ridiculous.
I wouldn't expect Jake to really get a good read there.
That's like watching on an 0-3 count.
You're a casual. This is the new segment. You're a casual. If you notice a casual tweet, you notice a casual, somebody saying something, let us know. They'll be featured on You're a Casual. We don't have any guesses so far. Maybe everybody was, under a rock or something.
So I mean, beyond the situational dumbness of it, the first place I went to was just like, well, that's not how baseball's played anymore. And so I looked at the stats just to verify, because we all know that baseball has been going further and further to the true 3 outcomes. And so I looked it up. The 2 teams in the American League with the most sacrificed bunts in the league are the Oakland A's and the Chicago White Sox, who happen to be last and second to last in runs scored per game in the American League.
Really?
Yeah. The 2 teams with the most sacked bunts are the 2 teams scoring the least amount of runs per game in the American League.
There is no such thing.
There's no correlation.
As a squeeze with 2 outs.
No,
you're not squeezing with 2. You're bunting for the base hit and hoping the runner at third scores. And you are certainly not safety squeeze. You're literally giving up the out. Whenever you're saying you're safety squeezing with 2 outs, you're saying, like, I hope he scores on a sacrifice fly. That's
right.
It's what you're saying.
And the fact is that even leads more credence to the fact Altuve knows no one's expecting it, because you just aren't going to do that at that point in the game. He's bunting for a base hit because he knows that they're playing back, hoping to God that one of the better hitters in the American League doesn't get the hit that's necessary to get the run in, and he snuck it by him. But yeah, you don't squeeze or safety squeeze with 2 outs.
You know what I think happened here? If I'm going to be honest, and this doesn't make it less casual. It arguably makes it even more casual.
You're defending the casual here? I think it was just.
I'm not defending. I think what I'm about to say actually makes it even more casual.
Let's have it.
Because I like the idea, and this was a positive we brought up last week about them manufacturing some runs at times. I think this is someone that either read the box score or heard that they scored a run and Altuve bunt. It didn't know there was 2 outs, and so went to this is a positive. They're manufacturing runs, but they didn't watch the game and didn't know there were 2 outs at the time.
It's a good theory. I think they're just a casual, though.
Well, they're casual either way.
Right, no, but I think they're a casual, and they saw it happen for what actually happened. I don't think it was. I could be wrong. It's an interesting theory.
I don't think this would happen during football season.
I disagree.
You do?
Yeah. I think this person would be a casual during football season, too.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I would think that that's someone that just didn't watch I think you're right, Brian. I think that's something where didn't watch the game, just saw the highlight and took to the fact that they're manufacturing runs and had no clue that there were 2 outs.
Interesting. Now I really wonder. Send him a text. Junior Bronco says that Joe George and Paul Gallant need to be on this segment. That's messed up. That's mean, Junior Broncos. Thank you for contributing to Friday's show. Yeah, we're not going to read mean things like that.
Man.
We wouldn't do that. 713-780-3776, twitch.tv/ESPN975. I like this segment. You're a casual. We're going to expose some people. And look, we're not off limits. We put ourselves on Bad Take Boulevard. We make ourselves subject to mean text for the final 15 minutes of our show every single week.
Hell, your mom put you on Bad Take Boulevard last week.
My own mother, my loving mother for my entire life put me on Bad Take Boulevard last week. So we're not, we could be casuals. You can expose us as casuals. So when you see somebody act a casual, you let us know. 713-780-ESPN. I'm sorry to have to do this, but I'm going to have to crush some hopes and dreams in this city when it comes to J.J. Watt. It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5. Now, while that's going on, I can also lift your hopes and spirits and dreams with a good drink. Gentle Ben, they have good drinks. They have the vodka, fantastic, gin, bourbon, whiskey, all of it, and all of it is eliminates impurities for the cleanest, smoothest spirit you'll ever taste. Everybody that talks to me that's had Gentle Ben, just have them try it, and they're going to love it. It's true. Purification of Gentle Ben is unrivaled. You'll love what's not in it, including undesirable acids. These acids take the enjoyment out of your drinks. Well, Gentle Ben gets rid of these things so you can enjoy. Just try a sip of Gentle Ben vodka. Try all the flavor, none of the burn. It is so smooth. Goes down easy. It's clean. Enjoy your drink. Don't labor through your drink. Look for Gentle Ben at the liquor store. Pick up a bottle. Ask for it at your favorite restaurant, your favorite bar. Just head to the Gentle Ben tasting room. If you're going to an Astros game, they have the Gentle Ben's kiosk right to the left of the Crawford boxes. You can pick up some bourbon. You can pick up a drink, a cocktail on the way to your seats, and you might need extra this year for the Astros. Head over to gentleben.com as well. Learn about your new favorite and just order straight from the website. Give it a shot. You'll never go back. gentleben.com. Order yours today. Gentle Ben, period.
You're back with the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
So you have J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans flirting again. Remember they did this last year where J.J. Watt was like in spikes working out. It's weird that he's working out in spikes in the weight room, by the way. Like, what a weird thing to do.
What, did he? I don't remember he had
He was
spikes
in spikes. On? He was in spikes. Yeah, he was in spikes.
I remember that we had a discussion or two about this.
No, he was in spikes.
But I never remembered him wearing spikes. That is very weird.
I'm pretty sure he was in white spikes. But yeah, remember last year he was like working out with the Texans for a few days. There was a picture of him and like the strength coach in the gym, and then he said later, yeah, he's been working out, and he was saying on McAfee, like he was hitting with McAfee all year that. Hey, I'm not completely closing the book, like giving in the window,
And the bigger thing was good to be back in H-Town around the organization.
What a
and the
beautiful
team.
day in Houston.
Yep.
Like he was giving all these hints, and then you even had Nick Caserio respond, and then you also had D'Amico Ryans last year respond, being like, well, he's a great football player anytime he's ready. This was last year. This was last year in the second half of the season. Now you have J.J. Watt going to – they had it at Constellation Field, didn't they?
They
his
sure did.
charity softball game. So you had him, and you saw all the soundbite came out. If he ever needs me, I'm just a call away. This is his last year, blah, 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 blah. And then D'Amico Ryans today at the golf tournament. I hope Cal didn't say anything unnecessary. We know what Cal likes to do at golf tournaments. Likes to run his mouth a little bit too much.
I really like to get J.J. back in the building.
But anyways, D'Amico talked, and he was like, yeah, if, I have his number if I ever need him. Can we stop with this silliness? Like, the fact that they went back and forth last year with, like, this innuendo and these rumors and all these hints, and now you're doing it again in the offseason, and you're firing everybody. Oh, can you imagine J.J. Watt playing one tech? No, not really. He's never really done it. Could you imagine J.J. Watt, Danico Autry, Donnell Hunter, and Will Anderson playing on the same – not really. I can't imagine that. If D'Amico Ryans didn't call J.J. Watt in the playoff race last year, when, remember, Will Anderson missed Week 15 and Week 16 with a high ankle sprain and then played the final two games basically at 50%. And then, of course, we remember John Grenard missing 2 games when he was nursing a grade 1 ankle sprain in Week 17 and Week 18. You also had Dylan Horton, who was away from the team. We found out later it was cancer, and we wish him the best in recovery. But if he didn't call J.J. Watt in the thick of a playoff race last year, when Will Anderson missed 2 games, when John Grenard missed 2 games, they were both hobbling around as you reached the postseason, D'Amico Ryans is never calling J.J. Watt. Let's put the fan fiction to rest once and for all.
There's no room for him on the team regardless, but you're right. If it was going to happen, it already would have happened. We call it Aaron Rodgering, just like, you do catfishing when some people gets catfished. Well, this is Aaron Rodgering. This is when you need the attention so badly, or you're wanting people to just keep hinting, keep asking, and keep coming at you for the clicks and everything else, that you just can't say no, and you like to stir the pot. It's annoying is what it is. And no one's going to put it to bed because, like you said, today they could have and they didn't. And it's like, you have a lot of pass rushers on this team now. You have above average pass rushers on this team now. Yeah, I know there's always going to be a relationship. Yeah, I know it's a great thing to have JJ in the building and all that stuff. But why are we doing this? Why are we doing it now? Because it's fine and it's all good. But at the same time, there's going to be a time when the attention needs to be on the guys that you brought in, along with the guys that are getting ready for the next year of their career, that we don't need to have this conversation.
No, King of Twitch says he's a media bad word. Hey, call me if you need me. I'm right here. Just saying. A little bit. Now, they're both on McAfee.
Is Rodgers going to be back?
Is there a correlation there on McAfee? I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
I bet he would be. McAfee kind of does what he wants over there.
Well,
I mean, McAfee got the other dude fired, and he's ripping ESPN bet on his show. McAfee does McAfee.
Well, the fact that I can't believe how often, how frequent. It used to be like every now and then they'd slip in a cuss word. Now they just don't care.
I think he'll be back on the show if I had to bet. Okay. Like, because McAfee kind of beats to his own drum, which I appreciate about McAfee.
But I also wonder who's paying him because of the fact that ESPN's getting tight in the purse strings.
I mean, McAfee's pretty, he was getting millions from FanDuel before ESPN ever came around, though.
Right, but he took a pay cut to come to ESPN.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's not hurt for money. Like, he's got bad word money. You know what I mean? Like, you get to a point where you got FU money, and you don't really care what people are telling you.
Yeah, like they do have money to spend. They went out and bought. I mean, every time they do a promotion, they whether it's just you respond to this or that you saw this show clip, and we'll send this many people cash, and then they were buying season tickets to the Fever when Caitlin Clark came on the show and giving some away and keeping some of them and doing things. They have money, but Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure, is commanding a pretty penny because that was such a big deal that he did his exclusives and dropped his big bombs when he was on McAfee.
It wouldn't surprise me, though, if he doesn't get paid to do a hit on that show. Like, he loves the sound of his own voice, and like you said, he loves the attention, and he has a buddy that does the show every now and then with McAfee, too. So, I don't know. I don't know the logistics. Yeah, I don't know the logistics there. It wouldn't shock me if he didn't if he did it for free. It wouldn't shock me if he was getting paid a pretty penny a hit. Like I have no idea. A texter just sent me one half of PP on the mornings on Highway to Hell. He sent me the video of D'Amico. I saw this earlier. D'Amico said, I need him, JJ, now. Anytime Watt's ready to go, I'm ready to go. So basically he's calling his Watt bluff. I don't know why they're hinting at this. I don't know why they're flirting with each other. Why are they doing this? He's never coming back. They're never getting back together again.
That's what I was referring to. I thought you had that's what you're referring to
well,
as well.
I did refer to it. The texter sent the video.
Yeah, there's no doubt after I heard the whole D'Amico comments today, like, why can't we just put it to bed? Just squash it once and for all. And even JJ saying, after this year, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, so it's going to have to be this year. Just, again, adding more fuel to the fire. It's now or never. There's a chance. You say there's a chance. There's not. Stop doing it. You don't need him. And I don't think no matter how, even if, God forbid, you have injuries, I don't know that there's going to be a time in this entire season where you suddenly go, yep, I need JJ now.
I wouldn't hate having him on the team. Like
he says he's working out. Like
it's a different conversation because like I don't think this is going to happen. Like I think it would have happened last year if this was going to happen. But if JJ Watt wanted to come play on a league minimum, would I put him on my 53-man roster? Yeah, absolutely, I would.
See, that's the key because when McAfee mentioned it, McAfee said for $30 million, he's got to make this many millions of dollars. If he's coming back, he ain't getting a big deal.
That was a different thing though. Like
this was last week,
but he wasn't talking about coming back for the Texans and demanding $30 million.
No, not demanding it. He's like, you come back, let's get this thing done now. He'll play against the Colts at least once. That's for sure. You give him $30 million. Make sure.
Yeah, but Watt never said that. Like Watt's not.
No, Watt didn't say it.
Right, but
McAfee said it.
Sure, but I don't know why that's relevant.
No,
we're
I'm
talking
just
about
saying,
Watt playing on the team. McAfee's not demanding the salary
because for the minimum. If he's just coming back on the minimum deal, and if there's a need for him, fine. I just don't think that there's a need for him right now.
I'd take him on the team. I don't think there's a need for him either. And if the timing was ever going to be right, it was going to be last year. That said, if J.J. Watt wanted to come back on a veteran's minimum, let's bring it home, J.J. Watt. Come on.
I would argue there's a need for him. I think you could use a sub package into your pass rusher. I agree with you that
it's more
he's not
luxury than necessity.
I don't think they're playing him inside.
I think they would in a pass rushing situation.
As an inside on a sub package, they've already done it. They used to do that with him and Clowney all the time.
3rd and 11, he's playing inside, getting to the quarterback.
And that's kind of where I think that because you're not going to come and ask him to play 90% of snaps.
No.
Or
Isn't that what Danielle Hunter was brought in to do?
Danielle Hunter's your edge guy.
He's an edge rusher.
I think they'll move Danielle Hunter inside.
They might a little, but not really. They moved Will Anderson inside a little bit last year to get creative. But like Danico Autry is going to be an outside guy. He's going to be inside on.
I'm sorry, not Danielle Hunter. I meant Autry.
You meant Danielle Hunter.
They'll move Autry inside. I think that's one of the things that is preventing them from going to getting another defensive tackle.
I don't think so.
I think they like Settle and they like Foley, but at the same time, on pass rushing situations, they're going to put Autry inside.
Yeah. It depends on how many linemen they have down. I think he's more of a 3-tech than a 1-tech, whereas Settle and Foley are more 1-techs. Now, you can get creative on 3rd and 11. You don't really need a 1-tech on 3rd and 11 because you're abandoning the running defense. You could absolutely have a spot for J.J. Watt. I mean, if this is legitimate, and it's not, like I'm putting less than 1% greater than 0% chance on this.
Okay, what are your odds again? Sorry.
Less than 1, greater than 0.
See, I would go higher than that, not massively.
Why didn't it happen last year?
Well, that's where I was going. So I would put it up around maybe 15%. And I would put it that high because to your specific point about why it didn't happen last year, I don't remember if this is a conversation of the show. Joe was, the producer back then. It wasn't me. But I remember hearing this conversation and just me and my buddies having the conversation as well. Like when Watt first started doing the media stuff at the start of the season, you could tell he wasn't in football shape. He was obviously still in great shape, but he had slimmed down a little bit. He didn't look like he could step on the field right away. He'd stepped away from it fully. Didn't have, I don't think, the same bulk that he had when he was playing. And I think it probably took him some time to build back up. And I think that's probably why it didn't happen last season, is he didn't feel like he was in the shape and had the muscle mass that he had during his playing time to be able to go on the field and do it.
Talking muscle mass.
Now he's had an offseason to get there.
I think Brian's right. I think that he lost so much weight last year that he wasn't, even if they needed him, I don't think he could have done it. But the fact that I saw the press conference and I saw the video, and then he mentioned the fact that he's working out like he did when he played for one more year, you can tell he's jacked up again.
Okay.
Especially
he's jacked up based on wearing a T-shirt in front of a softball game.
Sitting at the table and everything, you could notice
You know who else looks
Just in his
jacked? D'Amico Ryans. He needs to come back, play middle linebacker for the Texans. They
No,
need a
I'm
third
not saying
linebacker.
that,
Come on,
but that's
Player
why I'm
coach.
saying
JJ's
there's more
1
than a
year
1%
removed from a
chance.
12.5
coach.
sack season.
It
But
sounds
D'Amico's
like
ripped.
it's not out of the realm of possibilities, which is why I'd say I'd put it more like a 10%. But I think that there is more than a 1% chance, simply because whether it started out kidding or not, there's a reason he's trying to stay in football shape for one more year.
Well, think of how his Texans career ended with that.
He'd love to do it.
Yeah, with that 4-12 monstrosity that the 2020 season was.
Come back already. If he loved
I just
to do
told
it.
you why. I
Yeah,
think
we
Brian's
just said
right.
why.
Last year, I don't
No,
think
but
he
I'm
was
saying
in
why
football
would
shape
fair? Why wouldn't he have signed a deal already?
because he's making a whole bunch of money from TV, and right now they don't need him.
Where is he making money on TV right now?
They
Well,
just
he's got
got
a deal
rid of
with
Phil Simms
CBS.
and Boomer, and they elevated him to the NFL Today prehab. So he's getting a boatload of money to.
You don't think that's a per show basis and gets paid in football season? You think he's getting paid in May from CBS in the fall?
No, but I'm saying he just signed. I'm sure his deal just got elevated. He's going to make a substantial amount of money to do TV this year.
Sure, but I don't think he's getting paid in May.
Well,
If we're talking about if J.J. Watt really wants to play, why hasn't he done it yet? I don't think his contract with CBS is the reason to why. I think that's an independent contractor. He's getting paid on a per show basis.
I don't think it's independent contractor at all.
Do you think he's getting paid on May 6th?
I think that not that he's getting paid on May 6th, but I don't think it's independent contractor
Okay, well,
on a
that's
show-by-show
irrelevant,
basis.
though. But
It is relevant.
No, it's not
because-
really, because if he's not getting paid in the summer, why is the contract with CBS a hang-up of not signing with an NFL team?
It's not that it's a hang-up, but if you walk away from it, it possibly could be hard to get it back, and so he's going to get whatever he's going to get, $6 to $10 million to do studio show for CBS. And you're talking about if he comes back to the Texans with the cap and everything else, what's he going to get to come back and play football again? I don't think that it's anything
You don't think
necessary.
that contract's waiting for him, like it was waiting on Tom Brady. You don't think he has that written into his deal by an agent? Hey, we could step away from this and come back to it after we come out of retirement and play. I don't think the contract's a hang-up.
I don't think that's a clause written in the contract.
It was in Brady's.
Brady's different. Brady's walking away and saying
I think it was in Romo's too, actually. I think it was in Romo's.
I never heard that.
Yeah, I don't think that the TV contract is a hang-up of him signing with an NFL team. And if he really wanted to do this, I think he would have already been on the roster. I think he would have been on the team. I think it's like this little temptation, slight flirtation, just like it was at the end of last year.
Couldn't you see an
less
older
than
player,
one,
though,
greater than
only
zero.
wanted to play half a season, though?
Sure. Why did you do it last year?
We just okay. You cannot believe us, but there was talk during the first part of the season that man, JJ's really slimmed down.
Yeah, I remember him being slim.
That's the reason. That's why he didn't do it last year. I don't think so. He needed time to build back up, and I think I'm not saying he's going to play again. I put the odds at 15%. That's not a majority, but I don't think even if he did come back, even if the 15% hits, he's not coming back to play 17 games. I think he's Roger Clemensing this and coming back in late October. He's not a guy you can ask to play 90% of the snaps. He's not a guy you can ask to play 16 games. He's going to come back, ramp up when the playoff push gets here, and then be here in the postseason.
I like that theory. That's a good theory.
That's what I said. Whether you could see it or not, that's up to you. Whatever you can see or not see, if he was bulkier in the press conferences and in a softball jersey. The fact is, you don't come out and say, I got back in football shape. I'm lifting like I was in football. I'm only doing this for one more year.
He literally said that in the second half of last year when he was working out with the Texans to McAfee.
Well,
he says,
he didn't look it.
I think he ran out of time, though. That might have been the case. I mean, it's hard to say. Look, I either think he's telling the truth, and it's like a second half of the season playoff push type of thing, or he's Aaron Rodgers' media bad word again.
If he is,
there's really the answers.
If he were to come back, and again, greater than 0, less than 1, I believe your scenario. Like in my greater than 0 chance, I believe your scenario would be the way that he comes back. Doesn't do with camp, has nothing to do with all that. Maybe he does a couple of weeks on TV. He's part-time CBS. Maybe he does a couple of weeks there, then comes back in week 8. Trade deadline time, something like that. 863-8-yard tripping. I would die a happy man to see the man who I grew up with retire in a Texans jersey. I agree with that. Like, I'm saying it's not going to happen. If he were to come back and join the Texans, would I be happy? Absolutely. I would love it. I would be here for it. I hope that it does happen.
Look,
now, I don't think it's gonna, but I would love for it to happen.
Even the thing that we talk about when we talked about Casario not being prepared with insurance policies in the past as it related to Kenyon Green and this team always needing depth. It's great having an ace in the hole waiting for you if you need it. With a guy that has that resume, with that amount of talent. If he says he's only going to do it for one more year and stay in football ready shape, so be it. But a lot of teams would kill to have a guy that has that resume waiting in the wings just in case.
Pessimistic Chad, let JJ and Miko have their fun. More annoying than them is you talking about it and calling it annoying. If it's BS and it is BS, why bring it up? Because it's a topic in the city right now, and it's getting a reaction
Everyone's
out of you,
talking about
Pessimistic Chad. 2010, how many snaps could JJ Watt realistically play in a game? 10? 10 snaps?
I was going to say 15 to 20.
10 snaps? Now, 15, 20 probably. I think he could get up there if he was really needed and you had some injuries. But I think that in a perfect world, you're bringing J.J. Watt to play 10 snaps, pass rushing situations only.
Yep.
Yeah, 713-780-ESPN. Let's go out to the HRP listener line. David, you're in the Hive with the Bees. What's up, David? Hello, David. Yeah, you're up.
Yeah. Hey, I'm driving, guys. Maybe you could research this for me, but I think the reason he didn't come back last year, didn't he still have a year left on the Cardinals
No,
bill?
it was done.
Would have owed some kind of compensation?
No, his contract was done, if I remember correctly, with Arizona. He had a 2-year contract whenever he signed with Arizona. Last or 2 years ago was the second year with Arizona, so he was free.
Yeah, because I remember him walking off the field for the last time, and I believe he was in street clothes because he had already gotten hurt or whatever and said.
No, he played.
Did he finish the year?
Yeah, he played. Remember, that was against San Francisco, actually.
Oh, then he was mic'd
It was
up
in San
because
Fran.
he basically.
He correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he announced his retirement before the season was over.
I think that's
he did
true,
it.
too.
I think he lit out his intentions. So, like, I don't remember exactly how long, but
I think it was like
wasn't-
4 weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a full season like farewell tour, like a Miguel Cabrera thing, but it was before the season was over.
Pretty sure that was the Arizona Cardinals in-season hard knock, too.
I want to say he was some way or another he was mic'd up, or there was.
No, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was mic'd up. They were the in-season hard knocks, if memory serves, that year. So, like, they had behind-the-scene moments with J.J. Watt. I think Matt Burke was he was the guy when they were watching film where he was like, hey, guys, give J.J. Watt all your love or whatever. Because Burke came over, the DC from the Texans
Right.
from
Yep.
Arizona. They were they were the hard knocks team. I think it was like 4 weeks left. And I think he just randomly did it one day on Twitter, I believe.
Yeah,
with
sounds
J.J.
right.
Watt.
Yeah, it sounds right.
But he had a little bit, not really a retirement tour, but like a retirement month. But I think he could give you, 10 snaps if he were to come back. One more text on the. Actually, I got kicked out. I got kicked out of the text line. Someone's in there that kicked me out. 9331. Why are y'all calling Lance a casual? We weren't talking about Lance. Nope. It wasn't Lance, actually. All right, 713-780-ESPN. Kamari Laster, I was thinking about this weekend because we believe in a lot of things when it comes to football. Like you need to be big, you need to be fast to play certain positions. Laster's going to be an interesting case study for a very specific reason. It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Killer Bees with Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
7557 definitely mic'd up. He told D'Amico, make Houston great again before we officially hired him, and that was kind of debated for tampering. I don't remember the tampering debate. You remember that debate?
Not the tampering part. I do remember the quote that he shook D'Amico's hand and said exactly that. Go make Houston great again.
Tampering case? I don't remember a tampering case.
I never heard that.
Should we have T-shirts that say that? Make Houston great again? It wouldn't be MAGA. Or you?
What color should we make it? A red shirt?
It would have to be a red shirt with white lettering.
Yeah, with white lettering. Yeah.
MAGA.
No,
it'd be Maha.
Maga. Sounds like watching the Astros. Maga. 0702. The reason JJ hasn't signed is to save a roster spot for someone else on the team. If the Texans have a cut or injury, they'll sign him. Okay, that's believable. I think it's an interesting theory, and I think that kind of supports Brian's theory a little bit too. Where hey, it's a Week 6 edition, it's a Week 8 edition, it's a Week 10 edition. It's later in the year. Don't have to deal with camp. Don't have to deal with the dog days early in the year. So that would support that theory a little bit, I think. All right, 713-780-ESPN. So I had a thought over the weekend. Kamari Lassiter, we've talked about his 40 speed. We've talked about, is he an inside guy? Is he an outside guy? How much value should you be putting in these 40 times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I think this is going to be an interesting case study on if 40 time at a 40 time position actually matters. Because I think that the top two positions when it comes to 40 time, receiver and corner.
For sure.
I don't think you have to have a great 40 time to be a terrific running back, actually. No. Like Arian Foster didn't have a terrific 40. I'm pretty sure Derrick Henry's 40 wasn't fabulous.
Shiftiness, quickness,
seeing the hole,
to hit the hole,
power, plowing through people, penetration through the offensive line. So I think the two positions that you really want a good 40 time, at least that's like the common, thought when it comes to football, is wide receiver and corner. Although you look at some of these great 40 times all time, like John Ross, like the dude who ran the fastest 40 ever, did nothing.
Yeah.
Did nothing in the NFL. You've had multiple guys who are incredibly fast that do nothing in the NFL. But is there a certain baseline that you must have to play the corner spot well? This reminds me, and this is going to sound weird, this reminds me of when Jeff Luhnow thought that there was an underappreciation of small baseball players. And he started to really put a lot of inventory in small baseball players. He'll say Jose Altuve, but he didn't really have anything to do with Jose Altuve. The biggest case study here was Alex Bregman. He took Alex Bregman with a high draft pick. He felt like if Alex Bregman was your prototypical 6'2", 210-pound guy, he would have been the number one pick in the draft. And he felt that small baseball players were being devalued. I wonder if Casario's thinking along those same lines when it comes to 40 time at corner, where everybody's looking at, the stopwatch, the combine time, and Casario's looking at game speed. He's looking at the film, seeing how fast Lassiter in coverage gets from point A to point B. I'm wondering if Nick Casario thinks that there is an overrated, like we're overrating 40 times, and he feels that, not that he's slow at 4.66 or whatever he ran, but he feels like these guys who are kind of fringe fast are being underappreciated.
Well, and to take that to the next step, maybe he feels like that's a distinct advantage for them that other teams haven't figured out yet. When we talk about when analytics was really on the forefront and then all of a sudden it just kind of knocked the door down and everybody had to do it, maybe they're on the forefront of saying, because we've heard him say it, we've heard other people that were scouting the draft saying, look, the Texans had their eye on Lassiter. They liked what they saw regardless of his times, and they were hell-bent adamant about the fact that what they saw on tape did not look like a slow football player. And maybe that's something to their advantage that they've capitalized on, and maybe they did want him all along. We don't know. But it does make sense that when you just start thinking from a realistic perspective, look, guys running in tights and running in basically nothing just to run the fastest time, who's the fastest kid at recess, as opposed to, do you play the games in your recess clothes or do you play the games in helmets and pads?
Yeah.
I think that there's something to that.
And look, this isn't like a take where I'm saying, Lassiter's going to be this great football player. It might turn out that Lassiter's too slow to play outside corner. It's like, okay, we have our answer there. But it's something that I'm going to be watching from him, especially if he plays outside.
Well, but also the fact that and Casario has been very adamant about how much he believes that the most college-ready players for the NFL are SEC football players. He knows that the best two defenses the last several years in college football are Georgia and Alabama. So he's already put a lot of stock in that. But then when he says, look, I know this kid can hit. I know he's got a nose for the football. I know that he has the instinctual things that I look for in an NFL football player. If he feels like, hey, let all those draft guys and all the guys that are analyzing talent put a lot of weight and speed based on what's on a stock. How
take anything from the combine seriously. Like he says that the interviews are the most important things that he pulls from the combine. And like, think about it. If you have, let's just say, like, you have these combine, you have three corners, and let's just say the last hitter of the three corners is the slowest with the 40. But what if on film he's the quickest, he's the fastest? Like, where are you putting more value in? Are you going to put value on the stopwatch 40 time, or are you going to put the value in that Lassiter is literally defending the other team's best receivers well, where the other two guys are just mediocre? Like, I rather have the guy who has a slower 40 time, but is much better in coverage whenever I'm watching him actually on film.
Yeah,
and and it sounds like I'm defending Lassiter and I'm defending the pick. I'm just saying, let's watch. Let's
I'll defend it. I liked it.
Well, he could be a bust. You know, he could be terrible.
Yeah, and then at that point, then you will have a different point of view in terms of how they're evaluating talent and maybe what they saw that didn't pan out. But at the same time, I believe in the fact that you're looking at the best conference. It's not that's not some outlandishly crazy statement. We all know the SEC is the best football conference in the country, and you're looking at a guy that was on one of the best, if not the best, defensive unit in the country, and you saw him put up numbers, stats, and be fully capable on that defense. I don't believe that and everything else that went into them doing their deep dive on him coming into the league, I don't believe that I'm going to question that until I see differently, but I'm fine with the fact that but if he does it on the field in cleats, great.
I think we overrate 40 and undervalue some fringe fast
I'm with
guys.
you. I heard Caserio with the Texans radio.
How dare you?
Well, and I've already explained to you, not that I have to, but I explained to you why I was listening to them.
I didn't ask.
But at the same time, when he was talking to John and Mark, he was very clear in the fact that the biggest takeaway from all of this stuff, he didn't want to take away and obviously crap on the league for doing what they do and putting it all out there and putting it on the NFL Network and everybody with the combine. But they've already seen enough and gone through enough tape and game by game scouted enough to know the football player about their football abilities. The interview was all that they really wanted to get to see if they get, from a stability standpoint, from a maturity standpoint, and from a locker room standpoint with culture, does the kid fit in your locker room?
Here's the fastest 40 times ever in the combine. Top 11. Fabian Washington, corner from Nebraska. You remember who he is?
He played for the Raiders, right?
The picture of him is with the Raiders. I had never heard of him. Number 10 is Jacoby Ford, wide receiver from Clemson, ran a 4.28 40. Ever heard of him?
Buffalo?
Yeah.
I don't know where he played.
I think he
also
played
college
with,
at Clemson.
I remember. I think he might have played with the Raiders and the Bills.
Shocker. Raiders love 40 times.
And I said Bills, yeah.
J.J. Nelson, wide receiver, UAB, 4.28. I remember him in the league, but I don't remember him doing anything.
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
I want to say he played for the Niners. Number 8, Jalen Myrick, corner from Minnesota, ran a 4.28. Don't remember him at all. Number 7, Tyrone Calico, a wide receiver from Middle Tennessee, ran a 4.27.
Don't remember him.
Played with the Titans. I don't remember him at all. Number 6, I didn't know Stanford was this fast. Stanford Route, corner from U of H, go Cougs, 4.27 40. Guess where he got drafted to? The Raiders.
Raiders second round pick, right?
Raiders love. Yeah, I think it was a second rounder. Love Stanford Route. I didn't know he had that kind of juice though. I didn't know he was that fast. Number 5, Marquise Goodwin, receiver from Texas, 4.27. He went to San Fran. Right?
Yeah, he's had a decent career as like a third, fourth wide receiver. He's stuck around.
Special team or two?
Well, kick returner. Yeah, okay. He's not. He's had a decent role player career, but nothing special.
Number 4, Jerome Mathis, 4.26, wide receiver from Hampton. He played for the Texans.
Yeah.
Number 3, Dre Archer, running back from Kent State, 4.26. I don't remember him.
He played with Rams?
I don't remember.
No, I only remember him from Madden because his speed ratings were amazing.
Number 2 is Chris Johnson, running back, East Carolina, 4.24. We remember him.
CJ2K.
Yeah, like that's the only one on this. Well, Stanford Route had a good career. That's like the only superstar on this list.
So Ross fell that far off.
Number 1's John Ross, 4.22.
Okay.
Yeah,
he was drafted by Baltimore?
Yeah, he did nothing.
He came out of the University of Washington. I think he was drafted by Baltimore.
No,
and failed.
Cincinnati.
That's right, Cincinnati.
He was a top 10 pick.
They tried to turn him into a corner.
Did they?
I think somebody just picked him up for their camp roster too, or he's trying to get on a roster. He's making another comeback.
Yeah, he couldn't stay healthy in Cincinnati.
They tried to make him a corner. They tried to make John Ross a corner.
Not initially. They initially tried him at wide receiver.
Yeah,
It
he just
didn't
couldn't
work.
stay healthy.
Exactly. But after he failed, they flipped him to the defensive side of the ball. I think he's trying to come back as a receiver again, though. But look at that. I mean, those are your fastest guys ever. And Chris Johnson, really good. Goodwin, okay. Stanford Route had a really good career. But other than that,
And I would say, I mean, we are obviously talking about specifically the 40 time, but I think when you look at the other combine numbers, for Kamari last year, specifically you look at his 3-cone drill where he was the top corner in the 3-cone drill, and he was the third in the 20-yard shuttle. He's got short distance quickness, which I think leans into the idea that he's probably an inside corner. He's someone that's going to stick with the slot receivers over the short distance before they're picked up downfield in the zone.
I have always said that the 3-cone drill is the best way to evaluate corners. What was the second thing that you said?
The
ladder
20-yard
drill?
shuttle.
20-yard shuttle.
Shuttle.
The 20-yard shuttle? That's the second best thing to evaluate corners. I've always said that. Someone said his 3-cone time is top 15 all time.
I didn't know that. I just know he was the top.
Well, Lassiter's was?
Wow.
I just know Lassiter was the number
There you
one
go.
corner. Yeah, Lassiter was the number one corner in the 3-cone drill this year, and he was third among corners this year in the 20-yard shuttle. So
Why?
he's got short area quickness. He just doesn't have long speed.
Corey says Darius Hayward Bay. This was Combine. Maybe he didn't run at the Combine.
Darius Hayward Bay drafted by the Raiders.
Yeah, they love speed. I didn't know that his
Well,
3-cone
another
was
one that
top
played for the
15.
Raiders but never played college football but was an Olympic sprinter, Willie Gauld. Played for the Bears and the Raiders. And then later, after he got out of football and he was an Olympic sprinter, that's why the Bears took him and they made him into a football player. He became a bobsledder for the Olympic team.
That's what happened to I'm blanking on the name. He played football at Cy-Fair. He went to Michigan, transferred to Rice. He was the first YouTube video. Sam McGuffey.
Yeah.
First YouTube
right. I remember
sensation.
Sam McGuffey.
Hurdled over a dude. Yeah, he went to Michigan for Rich Rod. Didn't work out there. Went to Rice, and he was on the winter bobsled team a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's a summer bobsled team. 713-780-ESPN. What's your question for the Killer Bees? Ask the Killer Bees whatever you want. Our mailbag Monday, 713-780-3776. Killer Bees, ESPN 97.5, ESPN 92.5. Ask the Blankers whatever you want. Ask the Bees whatever you want. 713-780-ESPN. First question's to Blankers. Do you think that Ime will end up a top 5 Rockets coach?
I do. I think Ime's a really, really good coach. Top 5 I don't think is that tough of a stretch. I think Bill Fitch was okay. Del Harris was okay. I think Rudy is the top of that list, obviously.
Did you ever have a smoke with one of those guys?
I don't smoke, and I never have.
What about Fitch? You ever have a drink with him?
No, I've heard bad stories about Fitch.
Really?
Yeah. Mikhail used to tell
He
me
was
stories
the GM
even with
too?
the Celtics.
What are you, coach GM?
I don't know if he was GM too, but the Mikhail stories about Fitch,
I think Fitch might have been the guy that dropped Rodney McRae.
he made like Bird and all those guys. Like
Yeah.
they had an upstairs track at the Boston practice court, and he wasn't afraid to make those guys all go up on the track and run like a mile or two in their basketball shoes. And Mikhail said, if not for winning, they wanted to kill that man.
Man, that's rough. He looks like a squished up Van Chancellor.
He retired out on Lake Conroe.
I just saw that he died there.
Oh, is that right? He died there
yeah,
too?
I just pulled up his wiki. He was born in Davenport, died in Conroe. Yeah, he looks like a squished up Van Chancellor.
Do you,
He kinda
you
does.
have a
It's not
Van
a bad call.
Chancellor impression?
I can't. I'm not good
Who?
with impressions.
Joel, you got a Van Chancellor
I used
impression?
to do it all the time, so I could do it all the time, but I can do one.
He just looks angry, this Bill Fitch.
Let me see. Because we had man doing television, and Joel, all I know is I know you got to know where I can get some free golf and a couple of free meals when we're in Miami. I don't want the boob clubs.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
It's not enough.
pretty good.
There's not enough Cajun there,
I got to work on it.
but it's pretty good.
It's pretty good, especially for on
Off
the
the
fly.
cuff,
not
it's pretty
preparing.
good. You just need a little
When we
bit.
did the Van Chancellor bobblehead commercial, I
Yeah.
voiced it.
Oh, really?
For
that
the
was pretty.
bobblehead.
That was pretty good. You just need a little bit more Cajun. I feel like.
I got to practice it. I haven't done it
No,
since
off
we
the
had
cuff.
the comments.
Off the cuff. That was really good. 7-1. Don't worry if you don't get any further. 713-780-3776. Let's go out to the HRMP listener line. Pena, what's your question for the Killer Bees?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So start, bench, cut. Brian Dawkins, Sean Taylor, or Troy Polamalu. Thank you. Have a great day.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
So Dawkins, Polamalu, and Sean Taylor.
And man, if
I'll start Taylor, bench Polamalu, and cut Dawkins. Taylor,
I think I would flip flop your start and bench, but I would keep the same cut. I would start Polamalu, bench Sean Taylor, and cut Dawkins.
I feel like it's disrespectful to Brian Dawkins.
He was great. They're all great.
Yeah,
What makes it tough?
See, I'm with Jeremy. I think if Sean Taylor doesn't pass away way too soon, Sean Taylor might have like completely rewritten how the safety. I mean, he was with speed and size and could do everything. I would start Sean Taylor. I think I would sit Brian Dawkins and cut Polamalu.
Okay.
So we got
713.
three very different lists.
713-780-ESPN. Ocho, would you rather have a 1-minute conversation with your past self or your future self?
Future self. Definitely future self.
I'm going past self. I've reached optimal wisdom, so I have nothing to really take from my future
What are you going
self.
to take from your past?
What,
I'm gonna tell
what do you mean?
I'm going to go into my past and tell myself what to be prepared for, so I might be able to do it differently.
Yeah, and like, what's a
maybe
bet?
I'm reversing this question. If I could talk to my future self, I can learn what me in 20 years has learned over those 20 years, and then apply it in real time.
See, I'm thinking of it. Yeah, maybe I am thinking of it the wrong way because I'm thinking past self. I can go back in time, talk to my past self, and then retrace my steps. So our logic's the same. We're just having the different answer based on the same
But if you're
logic.
talking to your past self, you can't retrace those steps because the time has already happened.
But do you become your past self?
No, you're just talking to your past self.
Okay, give me the guy in the future.
Okay, so we
I
agree. Okay.
Yeah, because
okay.
that guy can tell me all the bets. Like, where do I buy stock?
That's exactly
Who
where it was
wins all
going,
these
Jeremy.
championships? I would be a billionaire. I would
Oh,
be able
that's
to
what I'm
buy
saying,
the
too.
Astros and save them from Jim Crane.
So I can't go. So when I go in the past, I can't
You're
tell
not
them
going to the past. You're just
See, I
talking to your
misunderstood,
past.
too.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we're all
then,
the same.
Then we agree.
We're all the same school of thought. Yeah, I would be a billionaire, no doubt. 7153. Will Jalen Green be a Rocket next year?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
They'll start the season there anyway.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, no, he'll at least start the season here for sure.
Okay. Who's y'all's favorite player in each Big Three sport all time? Non-Houston, Corey.
Oh, okay, non-Houston.
Favorite player all time in each sport?
That's tough on the spot.
Ken Griffey Jr. on baseball without question.
Yeah, I think mine would be the same for
Basketball,
baseball.
Michael Jordan without question. And football, whew. I mean, Bo Jackson was my favorite athlete of all time, and he was unbelievably fun to watch as a football player, but he didn't play that long.
Yeah.
Football is...
my football...
I hate saying this because of what he turned out to be.
OJ?
No, Brett Favre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, mine's Michael Vick, so my guy didn't turn out much better. Yeah, mine was Michael Vick. I loved Michael Vick. For basketball, I'll give you an old one and a new one. Old one, Larry Bird. New one, Steve Nash. Love Steve Nash. And then for baseball, I'll go Barry Bonds.
I know you've got a special place for Barry.
Barry was so good.
Yep. I mean,
So
look,
good.
and I'm the one that has taken heat in the past because I said he was a Hall of Famer and a 5-tool player before he ever got the cream or the clear or whatever he took. And
I agree with that statement.
He and Clemens both would have been bona fide slam dunk Hall of Famers, but before they ever did any of that stuff.
I mean, he never broke a Major League Baseball rule. 8604, will this show ever be entertaining and make me laugh one single time? Well, not if Blankers is making the jokes.
Oh, okay.
I gave it a shot. I hope I made you laugh. 5657, at what AAV would you feel comfortable re-signing Bregman in how many years?
We did this the other day.
Yeah, we did that last
We
week.
might not have been listening.
I'm just saying.
17, 18 maybe.
Ooh, I'm at 15 no more. And I'm probably down to 2 years. I was at 15 3 years last year.
We said 2
last
years.
week. I'm down to 15
Yeah,
to 2.
I was at the the Matt Chapman contract, which was 3 years at 18 per year. It ended up at 54.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he gets no more than 2, and I think with every passing day the AAV goes down, but I think it's between 15 and 20.
What is the one player that you wish would have stayed with one team his entire career?
Dream.
I don't mind Dream because when Dream left, he didn't have prime years left. Like, he had one mediocre year, not even mediocre year, so I don't care that he went to Toronto. Like, I'm looking to maximize winning, so I'm going to go with, like, a young player that didn't fulfill his career here.
Oh, it's in Houston?
Well, I'm going to go with Houston. He said any team.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Houston. I don't care I don't care about any other team. That's a good question. I wish I had time to think about this. I would probably they had
Repeat
I think
it,
a
and
lot
I'll
of
give my
people
answer while you're thinking, because I was saying goodbye to.
Okay. Oh, he said, what is the one player that you wish would have stayed with one team his entire career? So I don't care that Jordan went to Washington. That doesn't really influence me as a
LeBron
Houston
went to
sports fan.
Miami
Yeah, that doesn't influence me as a Houston sports fan. I don't even care that Olajuwon went to Toronto because that's not going to help you win. Like, yeah, it stinks that he,
I think a lot of
final year
people
in
still
Toronto.
that bothers them.
Sure,
that he didn't
absolutely,
play.
absolutely. But from my point of view, I want to maximize winning. So I want a player that you traded away early or left early that you could have had for their entire career. Like, for some reason, I want to say Kenny Lofton, but I don't think that's my answer.
Locally, I might say Roy Oswalt. I mean, he was at the kind of the end of when they were relevant, and not that he went on to have 8 more great seasons, but he was still pretty good for 3 more seasons.
Couple of pitchers. Yeah, see, Roy O was a little bit in the twilight of his career.
He had 3 more good seasons after that.
How about Randy Johnson?
Well, I was thinking that he didn't start
Garrett Cole.
here.
They didn't say that. What is the one player that you wish would have stayed with one team his entire career?
Because then he would have stayed with Seattle.
You can gray area that, I guess. But if you went where they started their career, you couldn't say him.
Right.
Kurt Schilling?
Yeah, that was one that
Now,
got
I don't know
away.
if he started here, though. I think the Astros might have acquired Schilling
I think he was a minor leaguer and got traded away.
But I think they might not have drafted him. I think that they acquired him from somebody else and then traded him again. I think.
I want to say Kerfeld or something, maybe.
I have no idea. I
In
think
the
it was
trade?
probably in the Harnish trade. Probably the Toppinson trade.
Johan Santana was an
Johan
Astros
Santana's
prospect.
a good one. They lost him in the Rule 5.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. That's a tough one because I want a player that you didn't have in the prime of his career that would be here. Like Kenny Lofton's a good one.
Or was there a guy that got away that turned into from a basketball perspective that flourished after they got away from the Rockets? I really can't either.
Here's another pretty good one, J.D. Martinez.
Yeah.
Like J.D. Martinez
that was,
during the Astros golden era?
Wasn't that Luno that decided he didn't have it?
Yeah. What really stinks, too, is that he came back in spring training. He's like, I fixed my swing. Trust me, I fixed my swing. And they were like, no, you didn't. And they cut him, and then he actually fixed his swing. Kendrick or Drake?
Kendrick,
no doubt.
Yeah, that's a big feud, huh?
Anthony Edwards or Jokic to start a franchise today?
I mean, the new hotness, Anthony Edwards.
Just because the NBA, for the most part, isn't a big man's game anymore either.
Fishing or hunting?
Fishing
as well. What is your go-to Chinese food order?
Orange chicken.
Chicken and broccoli.
Kung Pao.
with lo mein, chicken lo mein.
That's good.
More of like a brown sauce.
The rules. All right, 713-780-ESPN. That does
Randy
it
Moss
for our Mailbag Monday.
wishes he was a part of a team that
That's
was
right.
above the rules.
You want to win titles. There's been a huge defense of Alex Bregman in this city. Astros czar. Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
You're locked in with the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
He's Blank. I am Branham. So there's been a lot of defending of Alex Bregman from one Michael Schwab. Love Michael Schwab. You're probably familiar with Michael Schwab if you're part of Twitter. He is the admin of Astros Twitter, so that's why I call him the czar. He can be critical of the Astros. He's not like over the top fanboy all the time. He'll blast some Astros. He'll say some critical things about the Astros. He was very critical of Josh Hader yesterday. But there is one Astro he just refuses to say anything negative about, and it is one Alex Bregman. And I wonder why. I've started to wonder why he'll be negative to some Astros, but he won't be negative towards one Alex Bregman.
Personal relationship?
That's what my guess is.
Yeah.
I think that's the guess that I have.
The salsa?
I don't think anybody loves the salsa.
I know you don't, but I was just kidding about that. I would bet that most guys like that are the guys in the media that try to build relationships with the players, and then they have a hard time.
I wouldn't call him media. I wouldn't call Schwab media. How is he media?
There's a different definition of media these days because of how
he's an admin on Twitter.
But his Twitter account is,
I think he's more of like an aggregator, like engagement farmer, maybe even influencer.
I just think that's the term can be used. Maybe it's just the actual user of the term. And I think there's a different definition of it now because of the fact that Twitter, whether you like it or not, has become part of the media. People that tweet. That's why that to get a media press credential.
He doesn't have one.
And be a blogger. But I'm saying others that have podcasts and blogs that are just glorified fans get treated like media.
There is a very gray area.
Yep.
I wouldn't say Michael Schwab media member, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a media member. I'm a creator, influencer, and social media
I would
star.
disagree with that.
Which one?
That you are a media member.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a media member. I'm
And
a
I think
creator, an
you are.
influencer, and a social. Maybe I am a media member, but all those other things take priority.
You're just in denial.
Here was Schwab yesterday, though. Like after the Astros lost, Hader is washed, I fear, which is quite the take. The back of the bullpen ruining a game again. That's 8 blown saves for the Astros. He took a screenshot of Hader's 0-2 pitch, which I mean almost middle. 1-9 in one-run games. He lists Josh Hader, Ryan Presley, and Brian Abreu's ERA. He says scary for the wrong reasons as he quote tweets like the Astros back into the bullpen. So like he's willing to be critical of players, but not Alex Bregman. And here were a series of tweets from Schwab over the weekend that were defending Alex Bregman. I just want to see your thoughts on this.
Okay.
First one, complaining about Alex Bregman batting at fourth is silly. I think people just love to complain to complain. If you really want to do something, go to the game and give him a standing ovation when he's at the plate like the Phillies did for Turner. I doubt you will, though. Thoughts?
Ridiculous.
Why?
Back a baseball card, and you're
It's a
giving
good one. It's a good back of baseball card for Bregman.
Yeah, and that's what
The back of his baseball card.
That is exactly what he's basing all of that on, because there's no one in their right mind looking at what he hasn't been able to do this entire year that shouldn't be able to at least consider the fact that he should be moved down out of the first 4 spots in this lineup. Ineffective, and we can go on and on and on. For you to make that statement and not be a casual, that's bad.
But he won't look at the back of the baseball card for Hader, though. So there's some, hypocrisy going on here. All right, next one from Schwab defending Alex Bregman. Alvarez has been just as bad or worse over the past 14 games, so should he bat 8th? 3 question marks. 9th? 4 question marks. You put your best players where they need to be. Even with the slump, I approve moving Bregman out of the 2 spot right now because of the first inning. But what about Jordan? 4 question marks.
Jordan's body of work for the entire year has several peaks as well as this valley. Jordan has barreled up baseballs. Jordan, again, not being a casual and watching every pitch of every game like I believe you do, you realize there is a massive difference between Alex Bregman and Jordan Alvarez for this entire season, which is why Jordan Alvarez, who was flourishing in the 2-hole, but was moved primarily because of the inability to succeed of Alex Bregman, has a little bit of a slump going on right now, but there's a slump as opposed to a catastrophe with Alex Bregman.
Okay. Here are the next 2 might be my favorite 2, which I'm not sure which one I love more. It's like picking my favorite kid. The only player on the Astros with a lower K percentage than Bregman is Dubon. Bregman 13%, Dubon 7%, but Alex has been in almost double the plate appearances. Bregman's BABIP is 223, though, which is a batting average on balls in play. It's called being unlucky. He will figure it out.
An out is an out, and an out with runners in scoring position is a massive out regardless. It doesn't matter if you don't strike out, but you hit a dribbler to the pitcher, or what he's done most of the year, which are weak fly balls on the infield a lot of times, especially with runners in scoring position. Who the hell cares on the out percentage as it relates to effective hitters get hits with runners in scoring position? With less than 2 outs, they get fly balls to the outfield deep enough to score runners from third base.
I don't really understand but Alex has been in almost double the plate appearances thing. Like it's strikeout rate, like 13%, 7%.
That's right.
It's like it's an average. It's not really like a volume thing, like of shooting. Like it's
right.
It's weird to me that he put that last part in almost double.
It's
the
like
plate
if you were
appearances.
giving totals for the year and said,
yeah,
Dubon only has struck out 50 times and Bregman 48 or whatever.
The other thing is like, okay, that's great that he's only striking out 13% of the time, but what is he doing whenever he touches the baseball? Like he's hitting weak pop-ups to the infield. You can say the same thing about Dubon. Like Dubon has elite contact skill. Dubon never walks. Dubon has 0 power. So, like, Dubon's elite touching the baseball. Everything else offensively is pretty poor.
But the difference between the two of them, too, is Dubon's success rate with runners in scoring position this year
got
has
a
been
little
fantastic.
Bit of a little clutch gene in him this year, whereas Bregman has had the opposite. So, like, the K percentage, it's great that Alex Bregman can touch the baseball. His contact skill has been good. But whenever you're making contact and you're hitting weak pop-ups to second base, that doesn't really help matters. In a lot of ways, it hurts you.
Getting into double plays.
Yeah, and then the last one was Alex Bregman's infield fly ball percentage in 2024, 15%. Alex Bregman's career infield fly ball percentage, 12%. 3% difference. He's hitting underneath the ball, but he'll get there. Confidence and repetition will get him back.
I mean,
this was my favorite one.
Come on, man.
I don't get the infield fly percentage thing.
And not only that, but we're talking about his infield fly percentages for full seasons. And right now we're only 20 some odd games or whatever, however many games we are in. If he keeps going at this rate, God knows what that percentage is going to be. But if this is what we're basing it on, great. Guess what? You know, when he doesn't hit pop-ups on the infield, he's hitting into double plays with runners in scoring position.
And besides the fact that he was hitting into too many infield pop-ups before, so the fact that it's increased, even when he was going well, it was happening too much. So the fact that it's increased, even if it's only 3%, is still bad. And quickly, like I think it was 2 tweets ago, or maybe it was 1 tweet ago, he mentioned the BABIP and Bregman as being unlucky. Go look at his Baseball Savant page.
I did that this morning.
It is ice cold blue. There is nothing unlucky about this.
Blankers, guess what? Okay, so Swab's, he's saying that Bregman's been unlucky. There is Baseball Savant that will predict what your batting average should be based on your barrel rate, how much your contact rate is, blah, 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 blah. So expected batting average, they do expected WOBA, but that's kind of, out on the weeds. Expected slugging. Let's have you guess his expected batting average. Again, Swab's claiming that Bregman's been unlucky. What is Bregman's expected batting average according to Baseball Savant?
235.
Lower.
217.
A little higher. 223.
Oh.
So that's the luck. And Bregman's batting average right now is 202. So technically, Schwab is right. Schwab is right. Bregman has been unlucky by 21 percentage points to his batting average. The expected slugging, by the way, 325. That's terrible. 15th percentile. Expected WOBA, 287. Terrible. 24th percentile.
So he escaped the Mendoza.
He's over the Mendoza. He's over the Cologne pretty healthy.
His barrel rates.
Now, Abreu is who was flirting with Cologne.
Super cold.
Yeah, Abreu's under the Cologne.
Yeah, he's under.
His major league average is under the Cologne. All right, so Schwab defending Bregman. What's the story there? But he'll blast everybody else. What's the story there? And maybe you believe Schwab. Is Alex Bregman been unlucky this year? 713-780 ESPN. Also, if the Astros refuse to demote Bregman, there is one guy who should. It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
Hey, before we go to the break, a word from a good friend, Doc Linville. Doc Linville, best in the business at the NeoGraft procedure. If you don't know what it is, but you've experienced hair loss, you're thinning, you're balding, you don't think there's anything you can do about it, 975hair.com right now. You can figure out what the process is. You can get more understanding of it, and then you can sign up for a free consultation with Doc and his staff that normally costs $150, and you can get all your questions answered. They can explain the procedure to you, and you can figure out if you're interested in trying it for yourself. I did it. Could not be happier with it. Got the results that he told me I would get, and it was phenomenal. No pain for me. You could see the follicles the very next day in the mirror, and then after that, it takes about 6 to 9 months for you to totally see all the hair getting stronger and longer and growing in. But once it's there to stay. It's going to be with you for the long haul. How do I know that? Well, one of the first things Doc told me in my consultation was that 95 to 99% of the follicles on the side of your head, which is where they're going to take them from, are going to stay and grow when they're moved, because they're never going anywhere. You're never going to lose the hair on the sides and the back of your head, no matter how bald you go in other areas. So he takes that hair, which is not going anywhere, and puts it where you need it most. It's kind of like replanting sod, only replanting sod on your melon where you need it. Maybe your forehead has become an 8-head. Maybe you got a baboon's butt on the top of your head, and yet you constantly are trying to cover it up. Regardless of where the hair loss is, he can fix it with the NeoGraft procedure. You get the procedure, you get the consultation about the procedure for absolutely free. Costs everybody else $150. You go to 975hair.com and do it. You get it for free because you listen to us. He'll take care of all the details with his staff. They'll tell you exactly how it works. No signing on the dotted line. No money out of pocket. No commitment. Just questions and answers and explanations to see if you might be interested. Check it out today. Go to 975hair.com. Tell him I sent you by, because I think he is the best in the business, and the procedure's a game changer. It's the NeoGraft at Doc Linville.
You found the killer bees. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
Texter asked, is Bregman going through the HEB curse? Bregman's been on the HEB commercials for a long time.
Yes,
I don't believe in the HEB curse.
Altuve's been on all the HEB commercials. Is he going through a curse?
And they've won World Series.
Yeah.
Like, did Lance McCullers get hurt? Yeah. Where else did the curse come into play?
Maybe Correa.
Who?
Brock Osweiler.
Correa? Because he left?
Well, he got hurt a lot. I think that was around the time where he allegedly got stepped by the masseuse and broke his ribs.
Was Brock on an HEB commercial?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they did things with the Texans.
No, they absolutely did. There was
absolutely
that
did.
video.
There was D-Hop.
Deshaun Watson was in
Deshaun
one.
and D-Hop.
Oh, that's right.
There was the one where Deshaun was like throwing food and D-Hop caught in his mouth or something.
Yep.
Or no, he caught it with the
He
chopsticks.
caught sushi with the chopsticks.
That's right. I've forgotten about that. Have they done anything with the Rockets?
No.
No, but Brock Osweiler was definitely in a HEB commercial. I remember that one.
I concede. You know that Kroger's the new grocer of the Texans, though. I wonder if that's
is it really?
Yeah, they're like that. You see it on the backdrop. Whenever they do media
Well, I
availability.
guess those commercials are going away.
Yeah.
There's Kroger.
Well, for the Texans.
What are they going to have at Kroger? Like, they're going to have the Texans in the little cartoons moving through the shopping mart.
Oh, yeah, that's right. With all
store?
the current music that they use for those that my kids love.
Yeah, they're like old school like songs.
Flo Rida and
Apple
for
bottom
low,
jeans.
low.
Yeah,
They used low, 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 and they used Fresh by Kool and the Gang because my daughters would sing it in the car over and over.
Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud are going to be cartoons in the Kroger commercial. How can people be this delusional? The Astros stink and Bregman does too. Fair enough. And Omega Man backing up you, Omega Man and Humble. Twitter is literally social media. I just think there's a difference. Like, everybody who's on Twitter isn't part of the media, like Brian McTaggart is, like a Chandler Rome is, like an Aaron Wilson is.
It's a technicality that you can argue either way, but I mean it's crazy and it annoys the hell out of me that because you have a podcast and you're a blogger and you're on social media, you can get a press pass and go to games when you're just a glorified fan.
It depends on who the PR person is. Like, a lot of people won't credential those people.
I think that's changed. I think a lot.
It depends on the person.
A lot will.
It depends on the person.
Okay.
It depends on the person. Because I know that there are several people that will not. They'll look at their, like, social media following, and if you do numbers, okay, we can have a conversation because now you're bringing attention to the team. If you don't have numbers, probably not.
See, I was hoping you would say if that's all your outlet is, that they would say no. But I understand that if they have a ton of followers, then you have to respect that.
0315 Bergman is worried about his contract year. He's doing too much. Just get a hit and stop swinging for the fence flat. That's true, but his swing is broken. David Carr and Roger Clemens on the same HEB commercial. I don't remember that one.
I think I do. Yeah, I think so. I actually thought David Carr did one with Osweiler.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
They were like neighbors or something.
Brutal. All right, so Joe Espada refuses to demote Alex Bregman. No, I don't take the 2-hole to the 4-hole as a demotion. Both of them are equally important to a batting lineup. I would say the first spot, the second spot, and the fourth spot are my top 3 spots. So moving Bregman from 2 to 4 is not a demotion. You know who should be the one that demotes Alex Bregman? Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman should take a page out of Jose Altuve's book. Go to Joe Espada. No, Jose Altuve did this in 2020. I knew what I was saying. Okay. He should go into Joe Espada's office, knock on his door, and say, Skip, I'm struggling right now. I'm not playing well. I'm hurting the team. I understand that you don't want to move me down because of the back of my baseball card, because of my history with the team. I've been a big player for the Astros for a very long time, but he should take a page out of Jose Altuve's book, tell the skipper, Joe Espada, I'm killing the team right now. Please move me down until I figure this out, and be a professional like Jose Altuve was in 2020.
Oh, you're saying in the batting order, not, I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something that he should do, because we were struggling when we were trying to figure out what to do with Abreu about the fact that he knows as well as anybody that you can't hide it and candy coat it no matter how much sugarcoat it the way you would hope that the team, because of the money they spent, were trying to do it. Abreu was awful. And now that Abreu's gone, the next in line for being awful and just wasn't as awful as Abreu is Bregman. There's no doubt that he should be the one knocking on the manager's door and talking to the general manager and even Jim Crane if he has to, and the Crane gang, and just say, you need to move me down. And that would be a slice of humble pie that everybody could respect, because it's no secret. You're not fooling anybody. We watch it day in, day out, pitch after pitch, at bat after at bat. He's awful, and he's not getting better.
No. And, look, be a pro. Like, I understand you're in a contract year and you don't want to do this because it's going to cost you millions of dollars, all of this stuff. Jose Altuve was hitting 175 August 14, 2020. That was the COVID year. He was hitting 175. He hit second most of the start of that year. Dusty was trying to get him going, moved him to the leadoff spot, moved him to the 3 spot. He was 0 for 5 in his only game in the 3 spot that year. His average dropped to 175. He went into Dusty Baker's office and goes, Skip, I'm killing the team. Can you move me down to the batting order? He hit 7th the next day. He spent time in the 6th spot for a few games. Now, Dusty eventually moved him back to the 2-hole, but it was Jose Altuve saying, I'm killing the team right now. You got to move me down. Because he knew that Dusty Baker wouldn't do it because he's Jose Altuve. And Jose Altuve, being the team guy that he is, knowing his struggles, he went to Dusty and said, look, you got to do it. And I'm the one that's telling you to do it. Alex Bregman needs to go to Joe Espada before they play at Yankee Stadium tomorrow and say, sorry, Joe, I'm letting the team down right now. I'm not playing well. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to battle. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to help you defensively. And he is. He's playing really good defense. I'm going to help this team as much as I possibly can. I'm going to work hard to dig myself out of this hole. But I'm stinking right now. I'm leaving runners on base right now. I'm batting in one of the top 4 spots in the lineup, and I do not deserve it. Alex Bregman needs to be a pro and demote himself in the batting order.
Well, first and foremost, I think the Astros should do it no regardless. But you're right. If they won't, then he should. Because starting the first game in the series in New York, he shouldn't be anywhere near the top 4 spots. He should be really, really close to the bottom 3 spots. And in any one of those 3 spots would be a huge bonus for all involved, fans, team, the entire organization, the chance for success, all of it, than what we've seen. And there's no way in hell anybody has any ground to stand on and protect Alex Bregman from being demoted down in the lineup because of the fact that he stunk so badly. It isn't about the back of the baseball card. It's about a team that's scuffling, that's struggling, that's 10 games under 500, that has to get it going sooner rather than later and can't continue to wait game after game, runners in scoring position, game after game, to have a guy either pop up or hit into a double play, hitting and hovering around 2.25 or less, and doing little to nothing to be deserved of in the first 4 spots in the lineup. He should already have been moved down. If you are that worried about the fragility of the relationship and his psyche and the fact that, he could leave at the end of the year, that you won't do it, then he should.
This would garner my respect from Bregman. I would tip my cap, and I would he would curry favor with me. I might even lie and say his salsa's decent. If he makes this.
You know what, Jeremy? To a certain degree, this could actually gain points with organizations to realize he's not a prima donna.
Yeah.
That, hey, when I'm scuffling, I'm not afraid to go to the team and say, move me down. I'm hurting us right now. I'm going to get it back. But in the meantime, we got to do it. You got to do what you got to do to put the best lineup out there every night. And I don't deserve to be in the top 4. Teams that are thinking about signing Alex Bregman would love the leadership aspect of a decision like that.
I'm a team guy.
Right.
I'm a professional. He tells you, too, when he's in that meeting, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to be the Alex Bregman of old, but I'm not there right now, and I know that. But because I'm a team guy, put me in some lower leverage spots in the lineup. Put me 7th. Put me 6th. Wherever you want, Skip. But I can no longer continue to kill this team. And Jose Altuve, who's right down the a couple of lockers over in the clubhouse, he's literally done it. The best player in Houston Astros history went to Dusty Baker and said, "You're gonna have to move me down in the lineup. I'm reeling." If the best player in your organization's history can do it, Alex Bregman should be doing this before they have first pitch tomorrow at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, that's my mistake. I thought you were gonna
The whole DFA thing.
Yeah.
You can't go that far because what are you doing? I guess Dubon could fill in, but
plus from his standpoint, he's still playing good defense.
You can't do it.
You can't do that. But that's where I thought you were going.
No, not that far.
Like that maybe he should go down there and just try and work on without any of the distractions and the stress of every going to the next city, going to the next game. Give him some time to try and lose the 23 pounds or figure out the swing again. But you can't do that because you're right. The replacement possibilities make you a lesser team because of his defense.
Yeah. You could argue like Dubon, but Bregman's got to be able to get it going. And Bregman's in a contract year, so
right.
The whole send me down to West Palm Beach, I think, is out of the equation.
Yeah.
Hey, bat 7th.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, bat me 7th. Bat me 9th. Let me be a second leadoff for a few weeks while I figure this thing out. I'm going to figure it out, but while I'm figuring it out, I can't continue to kill this team. Be a pro. Be a leader. Do it.
He absolutely should, because again, you don't have to be a baseball, savant. You don't have to be an everydayer for the Astros. You know that the two overriding themes from an offensive perspective, not statistically as a team, but the two guys with the two worst stats, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. It was Abreu, and now that he's been eliminated, for the time being anyway, it's Bregman, and it's by a long, there's not even a close second.
713-780-ESPN HRP listener line. Alex Bregman, knock on Joe's door. Agree, disagree. 713-780-3776. Yeah.
Talk about it on the plane to New York.
Absolutely. Have a New York style pizza and talk about it there. We're witnessing a changing of the guards in the NBA, aren't we? It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
Guys, before we go to the break, a minute for my good friends at Vanderford Heating and Air Conditioning, Plumbing. They do it all. They are the best. They're local, and they're going to take care of. I know they're dedicated to Houstonians. You know, that's something that means a lot to me. But what means more than that to me when I speak for a company, are they taking care of the people? And this is why the exact reason why I'm telling you to go to Vanderford Air. One, they're the best in the business at knowing what they're doing when it comes to HVAC, air conditioning, heating, and plumbing. All of that. And if you can get a company that you can rely on and trust that does a multitude of different things that you may need your whole house repiped. You might want to put a humidifier system in your house. You want to deal with the fact that your air conditioning is so hyper important when you live in a climate like Houston. And your heating is as well. And you need people that know what they're doing, but are also going to back what they do 100%. That's why you go to Vanderford Air, because they take care of all of that. They do great work every time. And if they don't, you get your money back. That's the biggest thing for me. 100% money back guarantee. Those kind of guarantees mean something to me. The first thing is when you call them, whether it's 100 degrees outside and they got a long waiting list or not, if you call them, they're going to be at your door within 24 hours, guaranteed. That's what they pride themselves on. 100% satisfaction or your money back. That means if you're replacing a part in one of the HVAC units or your air conditioning, or you're doing something that needs parts with your pipes and something goes wrong, it's guaranteed. The quality of work that their employees are going to do, it's guaranteed. The assurance that everything they do is going to get the absolute temperature promised and to get everything back to normal or better, it's guaranteed. Best value, lowest cost to you, no risk, customer trust guarantees. That's what it's all about. 100% money back guarantee, and the fact that they'll be at your door within 24 hours of you calling them. Hey, before it gets too hot, call them now. Let them do a check on your entire system, and then keep their number stored somewhere very close to you so you know if anything goes wrong at any time with the system that you have, they can fix it quickly and be to your door within 24 hours. 281-557-COOL, 281-557-COOL, or check them out online at vanderfordair.com.
Now back to the Killer Bees.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
Couple of thoughts on Bregman from the text line. 8192, I feel like Bregman is a guy that tinkers with his swing too much. Maybe he just needs to get back to hitting like an athlete and doing what's natural. Stop thinking so much. He's definitely a tinkerer. Now, he's not a phenomenal athlete, like kind of an average athlete. Doesn't run all that fast,
Agreed.
doesn't jump all that high.
We've talked about it in the past. It's more mechanical and forced looking than fluid and athletic.
Yeah, he's I think he's got baseball skill.
Sure.
I think he lacks athleticism.
Correct.
But he's a good hitter whenever things are going right, and he has really good plate discipline. He's very good at touching the baseball. His contact rate's very high. I think he tries to lift too much. Go back to this season. Pop-up rate, a little higher. He's always hit fly balls more, but he added the weight. I think he's trying to yank. I think he's a better hitter whenever he's Dustin Pedroia and is hitting line drives, but he feels like he needs a bunch of home runs, and I think it's what's led to a terrible start. And I think he's especially thought that in a contract year. 6389, Bregman is a leader. Bregman used to be someone you could tolerate being arrogant while he was hitting. Now we're left with a Mendoza line shell. He hadn't really been arrogant since the whole sign-stealing stuff, though.
He got a little snippy when they asked him about pressing with the contract year and all that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that's cockiness and arrogance or deep. Like, he used to be called a D-bag. All the time he was called a D-bag early in his career.
I think that was the dances in the locker room and a lot of that stuff.
He was feeling really good about his 19 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, remember the World Series where he took the bat to first base?
And every time
ball
you get the ball,
intentionally walk
the bat with the fours and the showing out at the end of the dugout to the camera after the HRs and all the big plays. Yeah, when you're rolling, it's easy to come across that way. But when you're struggling, a lot of truths come out in terms of who you really are.
I haven't seen that stuff since the sign stealing stuff. I feel
he
like
went
he definitely
back in the last year or so. He went back to the post HR celebrations. He went back to a little bit because a lot of people noticed it and thought maybe that's part of the reason why he was pressing or wasn't his normal self. I asked all year. I asked earlier before he even got to this level. I was like, boy, you haven't seen any of that. Where is that? Why is it gone now?
I think he's toned it way down. You remember David Ortiz whenever they were in was it the World Series where he was like, yeah, you need to get your swag back? And he's like, okay, I will. Remember that?
I do remember him saying that, yes.
6375, too much launch angle, and it has ruined his swing. I agree with that. 4280, Bregman hitting 202. Bregman was a guy who played with a chip on his shoulder. When he was drafted too, he lost that chip. I think he's more lost his swing than the chip, per se. Bunby has a smash taco with Bregman sauce on it. He probably shouldn't. It'd probably be tastier if he didn't. Bregman hasn't been the same since he got married. That was from Kyle. Bregman was fine last year. He was married last year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was he married last year?
Some people were putting it on the birth of the kid.
He was fine last year. I would take Alex Bregman last year in a heartbeat. Over 800 OPS, really good defense. I would love that guy back.
Yeah, look, you and I were talking during the break, and I actually reposted the video from Mark DeRosa a week or so ago. The two LSU guys, he has a very tight circle. He's got his old hitting coach from LSU that he always it was always one of his go-to guys when he did the late-night hitting sessions, and he was always tinkering. DeRosa, not that he simplified it too much, but I think he was onto something in terms of hand placement and how close his hands were in proximity to his body that was split screened to show just a lot of why he was doing a lot of what we've seen and we've pinpointed that he does a lot, the pop-ups and not barreling the baseball. I just kind of I saw that and I was like, boom. I think that makes sense. I thought that somewhere in the near future those two would hook up phone, whatever, because he's trusted DeRosa over the years. I just wish Bregman would. I know he could figure everything out in his mind, but sometimes it needs a trained eye other than that maybe can find something that he hasn't tried to fix yet.
Yeah. 713-780-ESPN, HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. Pregnant, needs to have another baby with Reagan so he can reclaim his dad's strength and correct his swing. Okay. Like, the family stuff is weird to me. Like, does a baby impact Bregman? Does his marriage life impact his playing ability? If you have the wrong woman, it could. If you have the right woman, it can help. Depends on who you marry. Gary Player said the best thing you can do is have a good wife, unless it's Tiger's wife. But that's Tiger. That was on Tiger, not his wife.
That's
all right. I think we're witnessing a change of guard in the NBA. You look in the NBA playoffs right now, no LeBron, no Durant, no Steph, and then you look at the teams that are still around. Anthony Edwards, the new superstar. What did Brian call him? The new hotness, which might be the best. Might be the best player in the league. Jokic has been there, done that. But even I wouldn't say that Jokic is in the same era as like LeBron, Durant.
A lot
Steph.
of people still think Embiid's better.
I think that's silly.
And it's ridiculous.
I think that's ridiculous. Luka's, I think, a new era.
Yep.
SGA, new era. Celtics, kind of the same guys, I think. Cavs, not really a new era.
Donovan
there.
Mitchell's been around for a while.
Yeah, he's been around a while. Knicks, they don't really have. I mean,
the emergence of Brunson as a frontline, star.
Yeah, I would say that. And the Pacers, not really. But this is more Anthony Edwards, SGA. You can even throw Luka in the mix there a little bit. A changing of the guard in the NBA from the old era.
Yeah, I totally believe that's true. And a buddy of mine the other night was texting me during the games and saying, who's the face? Who's the face? Well, LeBron is still going to be the face just because of the back of the basketball card, just because of his resume, just because of all he's done and how in the city that he plays in, he's always going to still get all the and let's be honest, his numbers are still really, really good, especially for a guy his age. But even if he wasn't that age, his numbers would be pretty high in the ranks for the NBA. But when you're talking about guys that are going to carry the torch, it's Luka, it's Edwards. SGA, I still think is underrated to some degree, as do I think of Joker. But there is a definite passing of the guard, changing of the guard in terms of all these guys. I'm glad that Anthony Edwards came out and says, stop comparing me to Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I had a friend who doesn't think that Michael Jordan was good in Washington. That was comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan the other day. I was like, okay, I can't talk basketball with you anymore. I like that too. Now, Anthony Edwards, I have Anthony Edwards as a top 2 player in the league. Is that too high? I think it's him and the Joker. Maybe Luka.
I think Luka had like 80 this year.
Luka's
in a game. And people don't realize he's 6'9".
He's huge.
I think Luka has to be in that conversation.
If I say Anthony Edwards is top 3, am I being too hyperbolic?
No, you're not. Because the other thing again, think about how critical we've been in terms of analyzing individuals in any sport when we don't include the postseason, because that's when it matters most. That's when you elevate your game. He's elevating his game right now in front of our eyes on the biggest stage when the games matter the most, and he's carrying his team. I think that right now, and we'll see how SGA starts playing in the second round as well, but I think SGA is trying to work his way into that conversation with Joker, Luka, and now Anthony Edwards.
Would you have Giannis in the mix?
If he was healthy, he's still fully capable of doing the dominant things that he has been doing. And I think that if healthy, and that meant not just in the playoffs, he had to finish the year, too, where he was still dinged up. I think Giannis is still in that conversation.
Yeah.
But until he proves he's going to be healthy again, because this is the second year in a row, that, again, when it matters most in the playoffs, you see the difference between if Giannis is on a team, they probably beat Miami last year. They probably win the series against Indiana. Without him on the team, they lose both series. And I think you lose credibility from a top 5 standpoint.
I'm probably dinging him because of his health. My top 3, and tell me if I'm crazy. And maybe the order is tricky for me. I would have Joker 1. I would have Anthony Edwards 2, and I'd have Luka 3.
I can't do that. I think
you have Luka ahead of Anthony.
I have Luka ahead of Edwards behind the Joker, because the Joker has done, not only has he done it from an individual standpoint with the MVPs and multiples, but he's also won a championship. The other 2 guys have not.
Yeah.
And Luka's done it longer than Edwards. This is Edwards' coming out party, whereas Luka had that coming out party like a year or so ago, and now he's just continued to elevate. So I would say Anthony Edwards has moved himself up into 3.
So you have Luka 2, Anthony Edwards 3. Giannis 4?
I think Giannis and SGA are 4-5, and because of the fact that I want to see what SGA does in the playoffs. Giannis has a championship. Giannis has multiple MVPs. So Giannis is probably 4, and SGA is probably 5.
If you were starting a team today and you're the general manager, you going Luka or Anthony Edwards?
It's a great question.
Because that would be my counterpoint to you having Luka ahead of Anthony Edwards. Because I'm taking Anthony Edwards. I'm taking Anthony Edwards over Luka.
I think I'm taking Luka.
Okay. 713-780-ESPN. Let's go out to the HRMP listener line. Keith, you're in the Hive with the Bees. What's up, Keith?
Hey, guys, love the NBA talk. It's an absolute travesty that you guys just kind of, chatted through Jalen Brunson right now. He's scored 39 or more in games 3, 4, 5, and 6 against Philly. He's doing this playing damn near 48 minutes a game without an all-star forward in Julius Randle. Bogdanovich is now out for the season. They just got back Philly in the best first-round series Jalen Brunson is the real deal.
Is he in the top
and
three?
Is
he one of the top 3 players
He
in the NBA? Who is he better than?
The
He's
top
better,
3.
Joker,
The top 3.
Anthony Edwards, Luka. Who is he ahead of?
No, you were saying the changing of the guard. Who you guys are talking about?
Sure.
He's in the top 3 with Edwards, SGA, and Brunson. 39 or more against Philly in game
You left
3
out
through
the
6 is
Joker.
insane.
Luka and the Joker are not in the top 3?
You mentioned up-and-coming guys.
No. Answer the question.
Those guys are established. Luka and Jokic are established already.
Okay,
Those
he's
guys
moving the
have been
goalpost.
around.
You're moving the goalpost a bit. Like I understand what you're talking about, Keith. You're saying that we kind of, brushed through
Fair to
Jalen
say
Brunson whenever we were talking about the new players in the NBA. But you said yes, he has to be included in that conversation. Did we spend enough time talking about him? Like I think that's Keith's point. Jalen Brunson's not a top 3 player in the NBA. I wouldn't have him in my top 5. Now he's a dog. I would love to have him on
unbelievable.
my
He's
team.
getting better.
But he's not top 5.
Nope.
Would you rather, if you were Dallas, would you rather have kept him or have Kyrie?
I thought about that the other night. I don't know that Jalen Brunson ever becomes the Jalen Brunson we're talking about right now if he's always playing behind Luka Doncic.
Agreed.
I think that if he gets all of the restrictions taken off of him and he's allowed to go, that's what made him become what he's become with the Knicks because he got out from under Luka. I think that Kyrie is a better solution for the Mavs, which I didn't think was going to work out, and it didn't in year 1. But I think Kyrie's a better solution for the Mavs, and I think that Jalen Brunson has become Jalen Brunson because of the Knicks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He wouldn't be in the we wouldn't be talking about Jalen Brunson the way we are if he didn't go be the star
Correct.
somewhere else. Kind of the Harden effect.
Batman versus Robin. He was Robin, and he also was playing behind more than just Luka in Dallas. But once he got to New York and became Batman, that's when he became his true self.
Yeah. It was the same thing as Harden. Like Harden had to get out from under Durant and Westbrook to be the star he became. Now Brunson has way more dog than Elimination James. 8437, I'm here for the change. Much more exciting to watch in my opinion. Don't care for watching Luka much though. Anthony Edwards is my favorite watching in the NBA. Although Joker's pretty close. I love watching him just in his old man game. Key from LA, his top 5, Ant. He's talking about Ant. I thought for some reason I read that Anthony Davis, but he said Ant, Joker, Giannis, Embiid, Luka as his top 5.
See, Embiid never healthy either.
See, I can't have Embiid up there because he doesn't play enough games.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's never healthy enough. So, yeah, he got MVP that he deserved. If you say that he got jobbed out of the one the year before, he got the one that he could have been jobbed out of if the voting was accurate last year. But at the same time, he's never on the floor enough. He hurt his team again this year because he wasn't on the floor enough when they needed him, and they could have avoided having to get through what they got through. I can't put Embiid in my top 5 till he plays more.
1-2-4-3. Kyrie is showing Luka how to be a leader.
Stop.
Brunson ain't doing that. I think Kyrie gets a bad rap. I really do. I think he's a good pro.
We were talking about this the other day, though.
A good pro.
I was talking about with some buddies the other day. Hands down, the best handles I've ever seen in person, and the best handles in the game right now by a long, long margin. He has unbelievable not only handles, but his hang time is underrated. His shooting is underrated. He gets tarnished because of the off the floor stuff, to where people they won't look. They will look so much at the overall big picture. They won't, just from a pure basketball standpoint. He's one of the top talents in the game.
What's the worst thing Kyrie's done off the floor though?
The people have the issues with the vax. The New York thing.
That's his thing.
With the Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
It's just a theory how he thinks. It's not like he's not like going out and having dogs fight against one another.
No, but he gets regardless if it's right or not.
Well, he had the pretty big thing where he was liking the
video
with the
anti-Semitism.
Wasn't a good look there.
Yeah, the other stuff like the flat Earth and the vax, I could see how you could push that one aside, but
needing some time, personal time from emotional, for emotional, and leaving his team for a week.
Mental health is very important these days.
Okay,
I'd like to think that if you needed a week for your mental health, we would gladly say step away.
I could see that, and then it's one thing to not do the vax.
I don't think Joel took it that way.
But he also didn't do the vax. But then he went out in public with hundreds of people for a birthday party for his sister.
He loves his sister. He's showing that he cares.
I think where the vax thing gets criticism is because he couldn't play half his games when he was with the Nets because of their laws there. So that's where the vax thing becomes like a teammate issue.
3311 Jaw, still my favorite to watch when he's healthy and not suspended.
One of my buddies put him in the face of the league, and I don't think he can be because of
Silver would like that.
Nope.
Pretty soon Wemby will be in your top 5. We'll see.
I think that's a possibility.
His skill set could be the best. Let's see. Unless he's got some growing to do. 713-780-ESPN, HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. A couple of would-yous for the Houston Rockets, a couple of veterans that might be available this offseason. Would you kick the tires on these old tires? It's the Killer Bees on ESPN 97.5, ESPN 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Killer Bees with Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Should the Rockets kick the tires on a couple of old stars? Total Arlington says LeBron will only leave L.A. to follow his son. Mavericks and SMU, or Rockets and U of H. I don't think Bronny's going to play college ball much more at all anymore. I think he's in the NBA. I think the Lakers are going to draft him. I think he's going to be a teammate with his old man.
If Daryl doesn't jump in and try to be Daryl.
Yeah.
I could see Daryl doing it, and even if Bronny doesn't make the Sixers, he could do it for the thought of possibly getting LeBron, and then also being that guy, which he likes being, to try and prevent the Lakers from getting him.
Yeah.
He's already come out, and I think this is a huge gamble for him, but it's Daryl-esque. He's already talking about there's going to be a ton of changes in Philly. Well, good luck, because you got to get guys to take what you got before you can make a ton of changes.
I like the theory. I don't see it happening, but I like the drama in sports, so it'd be a lot of fun. A couple of names. I saw these from Clutch City Entertainment. He pulled these. Zach Lowe from covers basketball, covers the NBA for ESPN. He says that the Rockets named as a possible destination for Jimmy Butler if him and the Heat were unable to reach an extension. That's from Zach Lowe. Should the Rockets have interest in bringing Jimmy Butler almost to his home? Not quite his home. He doesn't say he's from Houston. He says he's from Tomball. So almost his home.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think his age matters. I think the price matters. And I think Jimmy Butler matters. Jimmy Butler had a chance to come here previously, didn't want to come here. Regardless of whether he's from this area or not, he didn't have any interest in wanting to be a Rocket. It's kind of like when people got ticked off because LeBron didn't want to come here because he didn't want to say why, but for some reason he didn't want to come to Houston. Jimmy Butler hasn't shown in the past that he's wanted to come here. He's older. I think from a cultural standpoint, he could teach, and from the Miami Heat culture thing too, and because Jimmy's always been that guy from that perspective, that he could do some things positively for this team, but he wants max money.
Mm-hmm.
He's older, and I don't think he's the right fit.
I don't want Jimmy Butler. I agree with almost everything you said. I don't love the argument of, well, he didn't like Houston before, so he shouldn't want him now. What if Danielle Hunter didn't like Houston before?
No, I'm just saying I don't think he wants to come here.
Yeah, maybe so. But I wouldn't use that as a reason not to bring a guy in because situations are different. It wasn't, Ime Udoka wasn't here. Harden was still here, too, whenever they were trying to bring him in, right? I think he was supposed to pair up with Harden.
I think he was supposed to be the next guy in
so,
line.
the situation's a lot different. I wouldn't hold that against Butler. That said, I don't want Butler. He's going to be 35 years old next year.
The only pushback I'll give you on that is you can go out and make the move anyway, and the example I'd give you is Dame. Dame wanted to be in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Dame ends up going to Milwaukee. Dame was miserable in Milwaukee all year. Now, he tried to spin it after they got eliminated by saying, he was separated from his family, and he didn't move his family there, and it's nothing against Milwaukee.
I think it's different scenarios, though. Like, I'm not saying that they should bring in Butler if he doesn't want to play in Houston. I'm saying it's possible that Jimmy Butler didn't want to play with Harden in the previous coaching staff versus he likes the young talent, wants to play with Ime. Okay. And is from a Houston Rocket perspective, I'm not holding that against Jimmy Butler that he didn't want to be with the previous regime.
I don't want to pay him $60 million a year.
Same. Like, my answer's still no. And, for the 10 reasons you listed, I agree with 9 of them. I was just nitpicking that one. The second one, this is from Mike Scotto. Never heard of him. A senior NBA insider, host of the Hoops Hype podcast. He covers it for covers the NBA for USA Today, too. Got this from Clutch City Entertainment, though. Rockets are possible for Paul George if he were to opt into his option and ask for a trade. What about desire for Paul George? Should there be some there?
Paul George still got a hell of a lot of basketball ability. Paul George still a really, really good player. And I think that there should be some interest on the Rockets' part for Paul George because of the fact that he can still play at a very high level. I think he can make guys around him better still. And I think that he kind of fits better into the younger nucleus that they have.
What would the trade look like for Paul George? And we'll figure out how to make the salaries work after the core is assembled. What would the return have to be for Paul George?
I think Jalen's going to be in the mix.
Yeah. So are you okay?
Jalen's a California kid too. So the Clippers going into a new arena, new uniforms, new look, the whole works. Looking for some hype if they're going to lose a LA kid like Paul George.
Yeah.
They need a younger kid to come from the LA area to come in like Green.
So is Paul George and Alpi Şengün enough to get you where you want to be? For me, it's not even close.
Well, it depends on what your other pieces are. Not those two guys alone, but then a man has to keep, right? Do you keep Fred and or Dylan Brooks? I hope not on the Dylan Brooks front. I could do without Fred VanVleet now as well because of some of the things we've seen from some of the young players like Amen.
Yeah.
But I need Cam to step up, Amen to step up. I need there to be other moving pieces. And from a salary standpoint, Fred VanVleet almost certainly has to be in that deal to make the numbers with Paul George make sense.
I think you're a better team next year, but acquiring a 34-year-old Paul George, I think actually takes you further away from being a champion. And if the goal is to build a championship roster, I don't think trading Jalen Green for Paul George is that move.
Yeah, because of the fact, too, that simply what you're doing is you're extending that Fred VanVleet is your bridge for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now because Paul George is going to have a multi-year deal, it probably extends it by a year or two more. You might not need that.
Yeah, I don't love that team. Like, it's probably better next year, but I think it kind of limits your ceiling a bit. All right, 713-780-ESPN. What is the car wreck of the day? What are you nominating for our car wreck of the day? 713-780-3776. And you're probably seeing a bunch of car wrecks over potholes. We got to get rid of these potholes. We got to change it one pothole at a time. We talk about pet peeves on this show all the time. How is one of your pet peeves not potholes? We can't stand these things. That's why I love Third Rock Renewables. They're on a campaign to fix potholes for good. We've all been there. Pothole pops up, throw some money at it to fix it, and it turns out it's just a temporary fix. It's a Band-Aid. That annoying pothole pops up again and again and again. Whether it's a few weeks or whether it's a few months, that pothole comes back. We'll change that and get in touch with Third Rock Renewables today. Third Rock Renewables has a patented technology called mechanical concrete, which turns these end-of-life tires into an indestructible building product. It's the only low-cost industrial strength sustainable in the market. And this mechanical concrete will fix these potholes for good, and we can eliminate one pet peeve from our life. Also works for a parking lot, a ranch road, a laydown yard, truck parking, whatever. Wherever you would use asphalt in the past, change that for good with mechanical concrete from Third Rock Renewables. Plus, it'll lower your maintenance costs by 75% or more. It'll lower your carbon emissions. And if you mention you heard about them on ESPN 97.5, you get 20% off. So at least give them a call. Find out what they're all about. Find out how they can fix your potholes. They can create a parking lot, a ranch road, a laydown yard, truck parking, whatever. 713-305-0507, 713-305-0507, or just visit them online, thirdrockrenewables.com. That's thirdrockrenewables.com. All right, what's your car wreck of the day nominee? 713-780-ESPN. Soccer Matters following us with Glenn Davis live in studio. Glenn will have a Champions League preview. Can't wait for that. Copa America tickets. And then Dynamo as well, which how about we start there for our car wreck of the day? The Dynamo, clean sheet, 3 straight matches, and 27 minutes.
27 minutes, and then 3 full games without scoring a goal. That's not good.
What's worse, the Dynamo in their last 3 matches plus 27 minutes or Alex Bregman? Probably Dynamo.
The Dynamo.
Probably the Dynamo.
And then the back of the Astros bullpen.
Yeah, back of the Astros bullpen should be on there.
Yep, that's on there for sure.
What else you nominating?
The Denver Nuggets losing at home.
Anthony Edwards
all by himself, and you didn't know that coming in? And their coach wasn't even on the sidelines because he's not healthy enough right now to be on the sidelines?
Where did he watch the game from?
In the locker room.
Really?
I believe he was in the locker room, and they were communicating back and forth because the coach said after the game.
How was he doing that? By banging on trash cans?
Probably sending, like, team attendance and things. Can't do it with a cell phone. I believe that's illegal. But the coach, because the coach was real quick to say.
Why couldn't he sit on the bench?
I guess because of for the possibility that he could get run into.
Like, what does he need his knee for, though?
I think it has to be elevated.
Like, why can't he sit on that second row and elevate his leg?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're asking me. I didn't stay at Holiday Inn Select last night. I can't
Like,
answer that completely.
sit in the second row and elevate your leg, dude. Like, if somebody runs into you, who cares? You're an old man. No one.
What's bad?
No one's asking you.
They got
to
to win without him on the bench.
He's worthless. You don't even need his.
Finchie's a good dude.
Get rid of him. You don't need him. He's not even on the bench. Honey Glazed Branham, car wreck of the day, the way Joel pronounces his name. His wife is Hispanic. I don't like that word. His listener base is mostly Hispanic. He needs to lean in and start going by Joel blank.
No chance.
As I scratch my forearm. Okay, I'm not going to read that. Yeah, I don't like Joel.
Yeah, no chance.
No. I'm going to nominate the people that thought Tom Brady walking up to Jeff Ross and saying, "Don't say that again," was real. All of you got deked. All of you got you bit on the pump fake from Tom Brady. He was giggling. He was laughing at the joke. He was waiting for his cue to go have a Will Smith moment. It was staged. It was not real, and everybody fell for it. I was looking at all my prep sites today. Tom Brady mad at Jeff Ross. Tom Brady a Will Smith moment. Like, they all thought it was serious. All of you fell for that. Great roast, by the way. And making roast great again. 3 hours. I couldn't make it through the whole thing last night, though. I look forward to watching the rest.
Should you not also nominate the local media member that had the hot take about playing small ball by squeezing or suicide? Squeezing with
our casual.
2 outs. Casual.
No one got the casual right.
No one got it right.
I'm very disappointed. I'm actually very encouraged by our listenership that they didn't see that.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say encouraged because our listeners weren't too they would pick up on it if they had seen it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I'm not saying that they're not intelligent. I'm saying that they didn't see it, which is probably a good thing that they didn't see it. So, yeah, no one picked up on the casual. Brian, do you nominate anything for our car wreck of the day?
Yeah, we have some audio to go along with this quickly. There was a technical foul called on Anthony Edwards yesterday for apparently staring at a Denver Nugget for like maybe half a second, and Reggie Miller freaked out about it.
It will be his first. So Jamal, look. Oh no, come on. How can you not see or call that? That's a foul. I mean, this is so blatant. See, this is what's frustrating. We're supposed to be at the highest level in the playoffs, second round. You can't miss calls like that. I'm sorry. You can't miss calls.
There you go. Reggie Miller.
That
was the one where was this the one where he dunked on the guy and he looked at him?
Yeah.
He
was posting the guy up, spun baseline, and laid it in, and then literally just as the basket went in and they were trying to inbound, he stared at him for maybe 2 seconds.
I know he didn't deserve the technical, but I thought Reggie was describing
a different play.
Okay, well maybe the Twitter link didn't work, but yeah. Either way, the technical foul
Charles
call
went on it after the game too. He said, "Little official man, it ain't about you, and people aren't buying tickets to see you."
Little official man, I like that.
Yeah, he was just killing the official, going, "Ain't nobody came to see you. No one bought tickets to see you. You don't make that call."
I love my good friend Charles Barkley. Josh from Seabrook says, car wreck of the day, Kim Kardashian. No, it's my friend, Charles Barkley. Mm-hmm. Kim Kardashian at the Brady roast. She got booed. She went up to the podium. Why were they booing Kim Kardashian? Do we know why they were booing her?
Because she has no talent.
I don't think that's a reason to boo somebody, though.
I don't know.
Maybe they're just tired of her.
Maybe they're tired of her.
She's been in the public eye for 15 years.
Her jokes were awful, too.
I did not see her part of the road.
And obviously she's not writing her jokes, but her delivery of the jokes were also very bad. So it backs up your talentless proclamation about Kim Kardashian. Why are they booing Kim Kardashian? 713-780-3776. Yeah, she was, again, I only got about halfway through and I fell asleep watching it. Her portion of the roast was easily the worst.
Maybe it was your people.
Easily the worst. Who were my people?
Swifties.
I don't think there's a whole lot of Swifties at the Tom Brady roast.
But she's feuding with Taylor. I think there's lyrics in a song about her. And
yeah, I don't see Swifties going to the roast of Tom Brady, though.
Okay.
I don't know if that's
Swifties
possible.
are everywhere.
Brady took some shots at the Swifties, too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he's like, Arrowhead Stadium is the loudest stadium in the NFL. It helps whenever all your fans are like 13-year-old girls.
Wow.
I saw that clip. I haven't seen the Brady part of it yet, but I saw the clip on Twitter today. All right, what's winning?
Back of the bullpen?
Yep.
I want to go Dynamo.
Or the Dino, that's fine.
I mean, y'all can outvote me.
If you go more than 3 full games without scoring a goal.
Matches.
That's bad. Oh, sorry,
soccer
matches.
heads are going to get onto you for calling them games.
Well, I know the biggest soccer head in the world is coming in here next, so he'll get on me for that because he'll call me out on the air, which he normally does.
Kevin Hart got killed, too, by the way.
For what?
Nikki goes, I'm going to keep this Kevin Hart.
What?
Yep. All right. Back of the bullpen, Astros. You're our car wreck of the day. Get it going tomorrow in the Bronx. Going to do it for us. Thanks to Brian for doing the hard work. He's Blank on Branham. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Houston. Soccer Matters. Glenn Davis up next on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
All right, thanks for tuning in tonight. And if you are in the car and you're traveling home, let us entertain you. Let us inform you. And we'll remind you we stream at ESPN975.com. Call in number 713-780-3776. That's 713-780-ESPN. Your humble host, Glenn Davis here. Guillermo behind the glass here as always tonight. Our thoughts, first off, go out to all of those in the Kingwood area dealing with the flooding. That brings back bad memories because I remember being flooded out in downtown in a townhome. Fortunately, it was a townhome that it was only the first floor and there was only one bedroom there, but not fun for people. So thinking about them. Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5, is always presented by John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. 713-780-3776 is the number to call in tonight. The question of the day from Soccer Matters. Do you remember your first goal? I don't care if it's your first goal at the youth level. It could be the college level, amateur level. You might have been an ex-pro listening to the show. I would love to hear from you about what your first ever goal was like. 713-780-3776. You always remember your first goal, right? 713-780-3776. We got a lot to get to tonight. I got Copa America tickets to give away. I got Dynamo Detroit. We're going to give a 4-pack away to the Dynamo's defense of the Open Cup tomorrow. They will need to score goals, though. That has been something that has been difficult to find lately. So hoping the Dynamo will pick up some goals tomorrow night. And maybe the Open Cup is the way to find your goal-scoring touch. We got the winner of the Football Association's Writers' Player of the Year in the Premier League. Titles are wrapped up in Europe, including some PSV players who represent the U.S. and Mexico after winning the title in the Netherlands. Champions League preview, we'll get to that. We start, though, tonight with the World Cup update brought to you by Soccer Matters, and then we'll get into some callers real quick. I think we got Jesus on hold right now. 713-780-3776. All right. Quick on the World Cup update brought to you by Soccer Matters and the World Cup 2026 awareness campaign. And this is a sad one. Legendary Argentine manager Cesar Menotti has passed away at 85 years of age. Menotti was best known as being the manager of the 78 World Cup team. That was Argentina, who defeated the Netherlands 3-1 in the World Cup final. Now, Argentina at that game was the host nation. Menotti spent most of his career in South America first as a player. His time included Boca Juniors, playing alongside the great Pelé at Santos in Brazil. He also set up, and this is an interesting one, I was reminded of this today by my friend Rodrigo. He set up the coaching schools at Atlas in Mexico, which then produced players like Pavel Pardo, Oswaldo Sanchez, Rafa Marquez, and on. He coached numerous clubs in Argentina, also spent a stint at Barcelona in Spain. Menotti was the current footballing director for Argentina currently. I remember growing up looking at these managers like Menotti, Enzo Bearzot of Italy, Rinus Michels of the Netherlands, Helmut Schoen of West Germany. I looked at these guys as a kid as gods. Cesar Menotti, the legendary World Cup winner with Argentina, dead at 85. World Cup update brought to you by Soccer Matters. Remind you, right here, 2026, the World Cup is going to be in Houston, as we are one of the World Cup host cities. It is one of the best-kept secrets in town. I would say let that sink in a little bit. You've thought about it, I know, Guillermo.
Yeah, I have. It really is one of the best-kept secrets. Like, I live right next to the NRG Stadium, and I don't see adverts like that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get the Copa America going. Maybe that'll get people a little bit more interested. Okay. The question of the day is, do you remember your first goal? Could be at any level. Youth, amateur, college, professional. Do you remember your first goal? Let's go to the phone lines and start it off with Jesus. Jesus, what's on your mind?
And thanks, first of all, for having me on the line, and happy belated birthday, Glenn.
Thank you so much.
My first goal I remember was junior high, and it was an awesome day because it wasn't just one goal, it was a 4-goal hat trick. We were an intermediate school from Pasadena. We were the first public school to have a soccer team. Back then in the 90s, only private schools had soccer teams, and we had a soccer club. But it was fun. We got out there, and I remember it was a counterattack. And that's pretty much how most of my goals came that day. One I did take with my head, but counterattack, man. And we played fast. We played savagely. It was an awesome day.
That's awesome. It's amazing how you remember these things, and I bet you can remember it like it was yesterday.
I didn't score many goals, but one thing I did do was score pretty goals, and what a way to start my scoring with scoring 4. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever forget that. Not my best. but it was definitely my best performance.
You might have been the big man on middle school campus for that time period, that's for sure. Jesus, thank you very much for the call tonight. We appreciate it. All right, Guillermo.
Thank you.
I know you've scored a first goal. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was back in my youth days. I was a right back, like I had told you. But this specific game, coach actually moved me up to midfield, and I remember asking him, "Can I finally score a goal?" And he's like, "You've always been able to score a goal." In that same game, I scored a goal.
Tell me about the goal, though. I mean, what type of goal was it? Was it a tap-in? Did it hit you in the back of the head when you were running the other direction? What type of goal was it?
It was a simple one, too. You know, our striker, he was our best man. He was a big man, too, so he'd always attract all the defenders. And, you know, just broke those lines from the midfield. He got all the defenders, and boom.
The simple give and go, the 1-2 works in every game, every day. You got to love that. All right, if you have your first ever goal, let us know. I'm going to ask Brian Ching, who will join the show in the third segment tonight, about his first goal, maybe as a youth player. And then we'll ask him maybe about his first goal in Major League Soccer. So my first goal as a pro, 1983. I've recounted the Pennsylvania Stoners in the American Soccer League as the greatest name in soccer, but that's who I'm playing for. I'm a rookie. I've got Joe Horvath, who's been the captain of Hungary. We're playing in Allentown, Pennsylvania, probably 3,000 to 4,000 people at the game, high school facility. And the center back who's playing next to me, a guy named Peter Carr, says to me, he screams at me, "Davis, stand on the near post." So I literally stand against the near post, and Horvath bends it in, but he hits it hard. And I go towards the corner flag and the delivery, and I get out there, and I'm able to just skim it off the top of my head and redirect it, and it goes in. But, you know, you don't forget these things. The most important thing to me is former Wolves goalkeeper Phil Parks was in goal for the team we were playing, called the Oklahoma City Slickers. So it beat a 6'5" Phil Parks. So that's my small claim to fame. All right, 713-780-3776. Nightmare of a day today. Crystal Palace 4-0 over Manchester United. Man, this hurts. Chris Richards, by the way, U.S. international on Crystal Palace, had an assist. What's the future of Erik ten Hag? One will only know. Casemiro and Johnny Evans were the center backs in this. Not that it's all on them, but that is a tough one. All right, so tomorrow we got the second leg of the Champions League, and this is going to be really, really exciting. 713-780-3776 is the number to call in tonight. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich tomorrow. Second leg, it's 2-2 on aggregate. It's at Real Madrid. Favorites for sure, I think, overall, has to be Real Madrid. They're the ultimate big match team. I think people pretty much agree they win the big game. Both managers, Carlo Ancelotti, Thomas Tuchel, put out sort of mixed squads with this game in mind over the weekend. Big attacking players for both teams were rested. Bayern, though, does have some injury issues with Rafael Guerrero and Eric Dyer. Could it be a big night for Harry Kane, Musiala, and Leroy Sané? It's going to need to be. But ultimately, I think most people are going to say Real Madrid's going to get it done at home with Vinny Jr., Jude Bellingham, and Toni Kroos. I don't think Vinny Jr. and Jude Bellingham played on the weekend. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Now, Bayern lost the Bundesliga in a big way to Bayer Leverkusen. Neverkusen. I heard that one. I'll give credit to another buddy of mine, Bill, for that one. Who do you pick, Real Madrid or Bayern Munich for this?
Real Madrid.
Yeah, at home. I think everybody's going that direction. Maybe the reason why I would pick Bayern. I'm pulling for an all-German final. I want Bayern Munich against Dortmund, which is our game on Wednesday. PSG, Dortmund. Dortmund's got a 1-0 aggregate lead. I was really hoping they'd get a second. Lucas Hernandez is out with an ACL injury, so that's a bit of a worry for Luis Enrique in defense for PSG. He came off injured. So they then brought on Lucas Beraldo, who was playing with Marquinhos, and he looked shaky. So we'll see. So this is the final home match for Kylian Mbappe, I believe. And with Dortmund holding a 1-0 first leg aggregate lead, this is big. PSG's never won the Champions League. Mbappe, to me, was pretty much a non-factor in the first match, and then he's leaving PSG at the end of the season for Real Madrid. Dortmund last won at 97. Collective, they can absorb pressure. They can break out through Jadon Sancho. By the way, where were those Sancho performances when he was on Manchester United, right? Like, this Fulkrug, who scored the goal, he's the hold-up man, which you need a blend of transition and hold-up play if you're going to get out of there with a win. And by the way, they have 11 different goal scorers, by the way, Dortmund in European play. And they're a good road team. Took a lot of points in the Bundesliga on the road to the tune of 30. I'm picking Dortmund, even though it's at PSG. I never liked PSG. I just think it's like an all-star team. Harlem Globetrotters. I don't know.
I feel like Dortmund and Bayern, that's the final that football wants. That's the one we want to watch.
It's the one you and me want, for sure. I hope it's the one football. I wouldn't ask that question. I wouldn't say so in Madrid, but, oh, yeah. So, anyway, so there we go. That's what we have when it comes to the Champions League. So, Tuesday and Wednesday, you might be not feeling well that day, or you might be cutting out early. So keep that in mind. You got the Champions League coming up. All right. Second segment, we're going to dip into Dynamo and Dash. But Real Madrid won the league this past weekend. Joselu here. This is soundbite number 1. This is the last goal in their 3-0 victory. So they are now the champions of La Liga.
Vinny Jr. with the layoff. Across goes Fally. It's the hare and the tortoise. And it's a tap-in for Joselu. He's got his goal. And Real Madrid are rampant.
Some nice crowd noise there. That's what you call laying out, and you let the crowd noise take over. PSV won a 25th Dutch title. Manager Peter Bosz got a 4-2 victory over Sparta Rotterdam. So listen to some of the data on PSV in the Dutch Eredivisie. 107 goals scored, lost only one match, 18 clean sheets. They dominate. You got 3 U.S. internationals on that team. Malik Tillman, Ricardo Pepi, mostly he comes off the bench, and Serginho Dest, who's injured, and his Copa America doesn't look very good. Mexican international Chucky Lozano on that team as well. 6 years since they won a title. So good for PSV, and it's great seeing some CONCACAF players involved in that as well. Bundesliga title goes to Bayer Leverkusen. We all know that. Italy, it's Inter Milan. Only one left we're thinking about right now is the Premier League. Manchester City. All right, we'll take a break here. Before we go to break here, just a quick reminder here. Copa America is coming up this summer. Great games. Mexico, Jamaica. You got Colombia, Paraguay. You got a knockout stage game, which very much could be Lionel Messi. Now, you want to get this World Cup feel. Like we were saying, best kept secret is World Cup 2026. You said it, Guillermo, not me. You want to get out to the Copa America. Let's start getting that feel. It's amazing when we're in stadiums with packed fans and passionate fans. We got the Colombian fans. We got the Mexican fans. There'll be Argentine fans if Argentina gets here. And the Reggae Boys, right? All right. So right now, you can buy your tickets at lsse.net. But right now, I'm giving a pair of tickets away to a random Copa America match. I'm not going to tell you. You know what? We are going to tell you what it is. It's going to be the Mexico-Jamaica game. Pair of tickets right now. Copa America, Mexico-Jamaica. Caller number 5 at 713-780-3776. 713-780-3776. Pair of tickets right now to Copa America, Mexico-Jamaica in June. All right, welcome back to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5. Just a quick reminder here. Houston Dynamo in action tomorrow night. We're going to talk some Dynamo in this segment, some Dash as well, some Major League Soccer, and Lionel Messi continues to light the league up. 713-780-3776 is the number. 713-780-3776, a number to call in tonight. We're also asking people about the first ever goal they scored and if they remember it and they can describe it to us. Call in at 713-780-3776. We mentioned Lone Star Sports and Entertainment. Listen, by the way, they've also got tickets to Brazil, Mexico up in College Station. They've also got Inter Miami coming into town in August for Leagues Cup to take on Tigres of Mexico. You go to lsse.net, lsse.net. Also, Hugh O'Connor's Pub out on I-10, Marquee Entertainment Center. Get in there, watch all your games in there. Great, great spot for watching both types of football, but they've also got great whiskey offerings, great beer selection, and also all the great traditional English food, the bangers and mash, etc. All right, 713-780-3776 is the number. Right now, caller number 3. I got a 4-pack right now to the U.S. Open Cup match. It's tomorrow night. You'll get these tickets tonight. It is the Houston Dynamo taking on Detroit City FC. Now, for all of you Open Cup lovers, and there's a lot of them out there, the Dynamo are the defending champions. They've won the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup twice. 713-780-3776 right now. And caller number 3, you will get a 4-pack to the game tomorrow night. Now, for everybody who talks about the Open Cup, one thing I will tell you, if we're being upfront, people don't go to these games till you get into the later stages. Why wouldn't you go tomorrow night? You're going to have a very ambitious USL Championship team coached by Danny Dicchio, who played for Toronto FC, played in England. You're likely not going to have as many people there, so you're going to see and hear things that you've never heard before, much like the people who stuck around and went to the Dash game on the weekend. Their 1-1 draw with Kansas City Current. So nobody seems interested in the Open Cup and the Dynamo. The board just lit up for Copa America tickets, and right now, I just mentioned it, 713-780-3776. Not a single call. So you want 4 tickets right now, and you're the quickest to dial 713-780-3776. You'll win them right now. I'm being as honest and open as I possibly can to see if I can yank somebody to make a phone call to win 4 free tickets to the Dynamo Detroit FC in the Open Cup tomorrow night. Okay, here comes a couple. Now I worked it. Now we got 4 callers. There we go. All right, that's how you work the phone lines. Jeez. You got to beg people to get 4 tickets to go see an Open Cup game? Dynamo? All right, the Dynamo attack, though, has been struggling to score goals. Maybe tomorrow night's the night. They come off a 0-0 draw with St. Louis. I think both managers in this one, Bradley Carnell, Ben Olsen, both could say that they had their chances in this game. But the Dynamo finishing is calcified. I mean, it doesn't happen. And yes, you can say we're going to break out of it. And, you know, you have the time to do that in MLS. We know that. 60% of the teams plus are going to make the playoffs. But this is 287 minutes without a goal. That includes 3 straight games and then 27 minutes at the end of the game prior to that. No question, that's part of the reason why the Dynamo had a struggle in April. Doesn't seem like anybody's panicking. You don't. But the only thing I would say when it comes to this is that if you're trying to sell your building out and you're not scoring goals, this is why people come to games. They want to see goals. So I'm hoping the Dynamo can bust out maybe tomorrow night against Detroit City, which is a great story. We're going to talk a little bit about them. So you can position the St. Louis game a lot of ways. There were a couple of mistakes the Dynamo made. They could have been punished. I thought João Klaus, the big Brazilian striker for St. Louis, rough night of finishing. I mean, he should have won St. Louis the game, potentially. because he is a goal scorer. He's noted for scoring goals. They could have picked up their first road win. So the Dynamo had some wonderful moments of approach play, some good combination play, the tricks and flicks. It just did not have the finish. So position that game how you like. 45 minutes for Hector Herrera. I would love some Dynamo fans to call in and give me your thoughts on the St. Louis game. Hector got 45. I don't think there's any panic and urgency at this stage. And when MLS managers say this, they are correct. There doesn't have to be. There doesn't have to be. It's the way the league operates. But this does very much look like last year. Remember, Corey Baird, they gave a crack at the striker position. It didn't work the first time. Aliou came in. They gave it to him. It didn't work with Aliou, although we saw a lot of good things out of him. And then the second go-round is when Corey Baird became a little bit more legitimate as a center forward and ended up with 8 goals. He's now at FC Cincinnati, and he has, I think he's only scored once for them now with Luciano Acosta on that team. Chance creation. Yes, you're all correct. When Hector comes back, there will be more chance creation, but the question is, will the goals follow that? Fans want to see goals. That's how you get your stadium filled. Scoring goals and exciting attacking football. I think the problem with the Dynamo is they play much of the game in front of opponents, in front of their back fours. It's hard for them to get behind with the inverted wingers. You expect a lot of that to come from Griffin Dorsey. Aliou, but Aliou cuts in a lot on his right. I'm hoping Aliou can, and I'd like your opinion on this, Guillermo. I said during the pregame show that we do on YouTube, Soccer Matters, that I wanted to see Ibrahim Aliou take up some different positions, not just be hugging the left side of the field, to move central, to move to the right, to move into the channels in different areas so that his runs would originate from different areas. And much like a pitcher in baseball working a batter, that he would work a little bit, the back line a little bit more with movement and mobility, and maybe get in places where two guys think the other guy's picking him up, and away he goes. And if he's got more of a direct line to goal, you're not going to catch him. The problem is on the right, like we've said, with an inverted team, he's always cutting in. I would love to see him work that back line a little bit more and stake out different positions. I know that may get away from the game model Ben Olsen has. I'm not questioning the coach. He's an MLS coach. I'm not. I'm just an ex-player with an opinion. But I would say if you're not getting production, you got to try maybe some tactical nuances, changes. And they did. They did with the withdrawn forwards, which I thought was very interesting, but it's not producing goals.
Yeah, I agree with you, Glenn. Like, I think Ibrahim has to get him more involved with the play. You know, if he makes those interior runs, breaking those lines through the middle with those false nines, we will be creating those chances in that space. And don't get me wrong, he's really good, like, on the wing and stuff like that. But if he keeps on doing different kinds of runs, he'll just keep on making the defenders keep guessing, and it'll just be a burden or just a hassle for them in the defense.
Okay, let's soundbite number 7 on the positives of the result, 0-0.
Slide of losing, and nobody wants to lose 3 in a row. So there's that. The other part is, it was a shutout, and we haven't had one of those in a while. So getting back to that at home is a good recipe for success. And 22 shots, 7 to 10 on target, 12 inside the box. Shutout and a lot of shots in the box. It's a good recipe to win games. And right now the goal's a little bit small for us. Some good goalkeeping and a little bit unlucky at times. So we'll just keep plugging away.
Can't argue with that. I would say this. I don't know if the front players have a goal scorer's mentality. I think that's missing. That's the guy that comes off the field even when you win. He's ticked off. He hasn't scored a goal, right? Imagine if the Dynamo had that player. Hector's healthy, playing like last year. I mean, you're scoring more goals. I don't think there's any question if you had a bona fide goal scorer. Now, I think Pat Onstad was not at the game this weekend, so I think my understanding is sources telling me he's out there maybe looking for that attacking player. And I think the current attacking players, Bassi, Kovalchuk, these guys work their tails off. Aliou, This has nothing to do with work ethic. But I think those guys, if they had a dominant alpha male striker in their team, I think there would be pressure off those guys. Those guys would even be better. My man of the match was Daniel Steres, by the way, 713-780-3776. Playing the left back position as a right-footed player, not easy. Good for Daniel. Let's go to that Eric Sviatchenko soundbite. It's about a minute long, but this is a really good soundbite from a veteran. And you'll notice this is a veteran player after a game speaking like a veteran. Eric Sviatchenko.
Dan, very comfortable as he's normally playing that position. I think he's a veteran. He's the guy that we can look each other in the eyes and know exactly what's going to happen the next 5 minutes in the game. Is it a crucial time where we need to be kind of extra dialed in? And he's very helpful in that aspect. And with Tate, a little bit out of position as a right fullback. I think it was a tough game for Tate. I think he did everything he could, and had some spells where he was going really, really well forward and had some great crosses. And in general, I think he had an okay game, but it was a tough one being in that position as being you need to go both ways. It's the position that Griff has played a lot, and it's just very demanding on the lungs. And I think Tate felt his lungs today in this kind of game where we need to go back and forth. But in general, I think keeping a clean sheets, that's Tate's and Dan's and Mika and everyone else's attributes too, and Steve, of course, with some good saves.
So that was Eric Sviatchenko. That's a good soundbite from him. And, the Dynamo elected to go with Tate Schmidt on the right side and Daniel Steres on the left. And I think Ben Olsen wanted to put Schmidt on the right because he felt he could get him the width that maybe Dorsey did a little bit better than Daniel Steres. Although Daniel Steres, dangerous off the corner, tremendous header off the crossbar. Felt bad for him that didn't go in. And then following the play up, supporting from behind, had a long-range hit that he blasted as well. And I thought Steres playing as a right-footed guy on the left side, not easy. No question about that. So Detroit City, they come here tomorrow. They tied on the weekend against Luton United 0-0. They're coached by Danny Dicchio. If you remember him, he was the first goal scorer in the history of Toronto FC. These players up against the Dynamo tomorrow. Just remember this going into this game. This is David versus Goliath. This is what everybody likes about the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And the game between the USL Championship side and the Dynamo epitomizes what the Open Cup's about. David and Goliath. Every player on Detroit City will believe they should be in MLS. Every player on Detroit City believes they'll be in the shop window tomorrow. Every player on Detroit City is going to look at somebody on the Dynamo who plays in this game and says, I'm as good as him. I could be in MLS. That's just the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Now, I'm interested to see what Ben Olsen's going to put out for the Dynamo. I think you should be too. How you're going to find goals. Will Dynamo 2 players be a part of it? Remember, the Dynamo won the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup last year. A lot of times coaches will try to get others playing opportunity, thinking long-term here, and try to balance getting the results. But it's dangerous going up against hungry teams like this from a lower division. And if you remember last year, the Dynamo got outplayed in their first game by Tampa Bay. And if it wasn't for Brooklyn Rain scoring, you would have been knocked out very, very early in this whole run. And then the eventual seriousness of taking the Open Cup a little more serious as you get into the later rounds when you're tasting potentially winning it changed. So these games can be incredibly interesting. We'll see. We'll see if Dynamo 2 players will be a part of this tomorrow. There is one guy, keep an eye on, Maxi Rodriguez, 3 goals, 2 assists. He was born in Uruguay. He was on San Antonio also in the USL. So he's one guy to keep an eye on for Detroit. But Detroit City have established themselves as a team in the USL Championship that is all about community, all about passion for their city, for their game. That's kind of their moniker. And they truly a team that really got everybody pretty excited about what was going on. All right, I think this is Luke Bryan, right? All right, I got that right. See, I know my music. By the way, I was at the Rolling Stones. What can I say? I just can continue to gloat. I'll put the videos up, It means a lot to me. It may not mean a lot to you out there. Actually, there was 80,000 people there, so somebody else cares about them too. All right, we're going to take a break here. We got a great guest coming up. Brian Chinger will call. We'll be getting him on the line here. I also do want to play some sound from a first-ever goal scorer when we come back from the Houston Dash, who got the very, very key goal in the 1-1 draw. That is from out of the University of Pittsburgh, Amanda West. And by the way, Jane Campbell stood on her head in this game again. I mean, Jane Campbell should be knocking on the door of the GM, Alex Singer, and saying, I want more money, because she has kept the Dash in games like there's no tomorrow. I mean, that game should have been over in the first half. We'll talk a little bit about the Houston Dash. Amanda West. Brian Ching is coming up next from Pitch 25, the former legendary Dynamo goal scorer as well. We'll take a break. Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5, presented by the Daspit Law Firm.
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of chaos kind of in front of the goal. The goalkeeper kind of coughed it up a little bit, Barr put on some good pressure, and then it kind of just bounced to me in the box. And then I took a touch, and all I was thinking was to just place it. I was able to get the shot off and place it in the bottom corner. So, yeah.
That was Amanda West, got the tying goal for the Houston Dash against Kansas City Current, played at Pittsburgh under Randy Waldrum. First ever goal as a pro. And we were talking about first goals here tonight. By the way, this music is MC5 from Detroit. So we're tying in, look what we're doing here. We're really, really clever. We're tying in the MC5 from Detroit, Detroit Rockers, with the visit of Detroit City FC in the Open Cup tomorrow night. So big congratulations to people that won tickets out there. I think, who did we get here, Guillermo? Let's see, Alan, he won the Copa America tickets, and Randy won the 4-pack to the Dynamo. I had to work hard to get people to call in for that, but they did, and we got 4 or 5 callers, so I'm pretty proud of that. All right, we're working hard also for Pitch 25 Beer Park in downtown. Real proud sponsors of the show. We're glad to be involved with Pitch 25. One of the owners of Pitch 25, the legendary Dynamo striker, He is now the entrepreneur there, and he is also a guy we're going to ask a really cool question here in a second. He is Brian Ching. Brian, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Glenn, thanks for having me.
All right, tell me about your golf game. Is it a good one?
It is terrible. I wouldn't even be a bench player if we were comparing it to soccer. But you know what? I always love going out for a good cause, and I love being outdoors. So you know, it was a good excuse for me to get out of the office.
That's one of the nice things about you. You've always been a very, very charitable guy here in Houston. But I was going to say we can end the interview there. That's radio gold. I mean, that's as honest as you can get. I don't
sugarcoat things.
I don't go near a golf course because I don't want to embarrass myself. All right, so Brian, the question we put out tonight here before we get into some really cool happenings that are going to be going on down at Pitch 25 Beer Park. So we put a question out tonight. Do you remember your first goal? Do you remember your first goal going back to when you were a youth soccer player?
Oh, youth soccer player? No, I definitely don't remember my first goal.
Okay, so then let's jump into Gonzaga. Do you remember your first college goal?
Gonzaga. You know what? I don't even remember my first college goal.
All right, now this one, if you don't get this, we're hanging up.
Man. Go on.
If you don't get this question right now and you say you don't know, we're going to have to hang up on you, Brian. And then I'll just go into a 15-minute segment on Pitch 25, all right, on my own. All right, your first professional goal. Tell us about it.
All right. Yeah, so I remember that one because I got elbowed in the throat by this guy, Nick Garcia, right after I scored. You know, typical me. It was a set piece. We were playing Kansas City. I was with the LA Galaxy in my first year. And Sasha Victorinos sent in a good cross, and it's kind of one of my, trademark headers. And then as soon as I turned to run to celebrate, I think it was the third goal of the game, and I think we were up 3-0 at that point. And Nick Garcia, who was kind of a bit of a hard-nosed player, just turned around and elbowed me right in the throat. and then I kind of went down and just was laying there kind of in disbelief for a while. But that was my first goal with the Galaxy.
Well, you know, when you think about, I'm just listening to you talk about Nick Garcia, and when I first started in MLS as an analyst, I did a lot of Kansas City's games, and Nick laid the leather on quite a few people. To your point, I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about this when you describe this, and during your time period, guys could get away with a lot more than they can now based on a lot of things, but I remember watching you play, and I even remember going back to when I was playing that people could do things and get away with things. That's like, if you look at it now, it's almost like assault.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not proud to say this, but when you're in the heat of the moment, sometimes I've done things that I shouldn't have done, and would have definitely got me thrown out of games these days. With all the cameras and, everything, all the eyes watching, it definitely was a different game, a little bit more physical of a game, and this is what it was.
But you, and we're talking to Brian Ching, Pitch 25 Beer Park, of course, the legendary Dynamo goal scorer. Brian, I mean, part of that had to be a defense mechanism too, right? I mean, you have to protect yourself.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got kicked a lot. One of my favorite stories is with Bobby Boswell, who was a good teammate of mine for a long time when he played for DC United. We would get into it, and I received a headbutt from him, off the play.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that was part of the game, and it happened and shouldn't have happened, but it did at those times, and I mean, me and Bobby are the best of friends now. But when he first came back to Houston, I when he first got traded back to Houston, I was like, well, I sent him a text. At least I'm not going to get headbutted anymore. And then we became like best of friends after that. So it was, it was just one of those things in the game. And now I don't think anybody could ever get away with the things that were gotten away with back then.
Brian Ching joining us. Pitch 25 Beer Park has got some big news. We're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do, Brian, when you look at the game now in Major League Soccer and even the changes since you retired, what are some of the things that really jump out to you? And I would say start, first of all, obviously, with just the on-field play and the product.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the play now compared to what it was. I mean, the players are a lot more technical, a lot faster, quicker, and it's been fun to see the growth of the game. I think, you look at the American player now, getting better at such younger ages. When I was, coming through and playing, majority of your best American players were all, late 20s, early 30s. And now, you're seeing a lot of these guys coming out, 18 to 20-year-old players that are really making an impact. So I think, soccer's rised in the country, and, kids are playing a lot more soccer at younger ages than we were in the past. And, it's a great thing to kind of just see the whole level of the country get better and better. And, I was proud to kind of be a small part of that, kicking off the league and helping, grow the game.
I would say big part of that. As you guys were pioneers, so were the ones before you. I mean, you guys took it to the next level. It was great, and now it's going even further as we talk to Brian Ching here. Okay, so we got some really cool stuff happening. So Paramount is going to come down. You're going to host the Champions League watch party, which I'm sure you would have done anyway, because all the big games, by the way, we've mentioned that Brian's going to have Copa America on down there, the Euros this summer. We keep forgetting the Euros just because we got Copa America here, but all the big matches on the big screen at his facility. There's an indoor soccer pitch there. There's 100 beers. This was kind of a labor of love, Pitch 25 Beer Park for Brian. It's celebrating the sport he loves. But just tell us about Paramount and what you got going on with the Champions League final. This is pretty tremendous.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. Paramount kind of was looking to host a number of watch parties throughout the country. I think it was 3, and they're looking to do one in Texas. And they decided that Pitch 25 was one of the spots that they wanted to use, and we are extremely excited. Obviously, like you said, we would have had a watch party there, but anytime we can get national exposure, it's fantastic. Especially as we're looking to expand on our concept out in Katy. But they're always a good time. I'm hoping. It's kind of going to be exciting, I think, this week, right? Is it coming up where they're going to the games will decide on who's going to be in the final? But really, really looking forward to hosting that watch party.
Real Madrid, Bayern Munich tomorrow, then Wednesday, PSG, Dortmund. Any particular teams out of those 4 you like, Brian, that you want to see get to the final?
Yeah, obviously I look at it from a business standpoint now. Let
me rephrase the question. Who draws better at Pitch 25? Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG, or Dortmund? I think I know.
Bayern Munich just had a large watch party there, but I think Real Madrid draws a bigger crowd there, and then PSG, obviously, you have Mbappe, who's one of the biggest stars in the game right now. So, I think if those 2 teams came, you'd probably get a little bit more excitement around the game. But having said that, 4 great teams. Dortmund's kind of always been a good club, but to see this much success in Champions League. It's kind of, to me, it's been a little bit of a step up for them, and it'd be kind of a good story if they made it. But at the end of the day, Real Madrid has the history. has a fan base, and PSG with the Rising Star, I think would be an ideal final for us.
Yeah, that would be good. I like how you had your entrepreneurial hat on too, because I was going to ask you about the transition from playing to being an entrepreneur. By the way, Dortmund last won it in 1997. That's just kind of a little fact for everybody listening. And so, I remember you taking me through that facility when it was raw before you built it out, and it was amazing walking through there with you. And I remember you talking to me and showing me where things would be, and then to have actually then gone in there, it was pretty amazing to see it all happen. Just speak to a little bit about being able to do something where you are still connected to soccer. I mean, that was always my aim. You are doing it in obviously a very different way than I am, but I think soccer players like to remain connected to the sport.
I do. I mean, it wasn't a sport when I grew up and saying I want to be a professional soccer player, but it's been an integral part of my life the entire time, and being able to monetize something around the sport I love after playing is pretty special, and something I'm still passionate about. I love grown to love the sport, and I want to see it grow even further, right? I mean, one of the proudest things for me is being a part of that growth process in the MLS, and now, not playing anymore, I want to be part of the growth process of the fan base of MLS, right? And so if I can, and what I see out of Pitch 25 is that place that can help, fans grow the game, especially here in the United States. We're excited about the two tournaments this summer. Like you said, the Euros and the Copa will be open up for every single game. And then, Messi's coming into town, and people are watching it now more, and that's just going to lead right into the World Cup. And, I've always said the World Cup, even though I didn't really get to play a game, just going to the World Cup was one of the highlights of my career. And just seeing people descend on the cities or the host country from all over the world, excited about cheering on their team and celebrating the sport, is something that I would hope that everybody gets to experience at some day in their life. And, and a lot of people don't have the means to travel. So the fact that, it's coming here to Houston is special, and I really am excited for all the Houstonians that, haven't been able to experience that yet. And we'll be able to experience that here in 7 games at NRG in a couple of years.
Amazing. To think you could wake up in Deer Park, Katy, the Woodlands, inner city Houston, take your pick, and to think you could wake up in your bed there, have breakfast, and be going to a World Cup, an official World Cup game in your city. That's going to be a part of history and lore. Is pretty amazing. You put that very good, Brian. Well, listen, first of all, thank you very much for promoting and sponsoring our show, Pitch 25 Beer Park. We really appreciate that. Second of all, thanks for joining us. And third of all, we'll talk to you soon. How about that?
Well, Glenn, thanks for having me, and thanks that you've done for all you've done for soccer in this country. I mean, you've been a mainstay from pretty much the beginning, and I've always appreciated your love for the game and how you've helped it grow tremendously in this country. So thank you.
Well, Brian, here's one thing I want you to do. I want you to think in the next time period, if you can remember the first goal. Ask your mom, because remember, I used to sit in the stands at Robertson watching you train with your mom when she was fresh off planes and stuff.
That's right.
And she even came in studio up here many years ago, I remember too. But see if you can remember the first youth goal and the first college goal. Let me know.
I will.
All right. Thanks for the kind words. That's Brian Ching, Pitch 25, but you also know him as the legendary Dynamo goal scorer, and who can ever forget that Colorado game? Banged in 4 that night, scored that dramatic goal in the MLS Cup final, the first one the Dynamo won to tie things up. Pretty amazing. What a career from Hawaii. All right, that's going to do it tonight. Big thanks to Guillermo Lazo Romero, our producer. The winners who won the tickets. We're going to be rolling out more tickets Wednesday, 6 o'clock Central Time. I'm really proud of myself tonight because we didn't initially get any calls for the Dynamo Detroit, and then I worked it harder, and I realized I'm not working it hard enough. I got to work it harder. I got to bring more game. I got to be #do work. All right, that's what I'm going to be. #do work. All right, that does it tonight. Being a little bit silly here. Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5. You get the podcast at Spotify, Google, Apple, and also, don't forget, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Davis Sock, at Soccer Matters GD. The police take you out tonight. Remember, Soccer Matters.